Your career will be defined by successes and failures, and your perseverance to succeed. Ladies, gentlemen, and variations thereupon, this is Modern Escapism. Hello and welcome to the show, and welcome to Careers Month. Please submit your CVs and a covering letter to our email address. If we haven't gotten back to you within 5 weeks, you haven't got the job. My name is Oodles, the job guidance counsellor of the show. Joining me today, Union Liaison Officer and Head of Human Affairs, it's Candy.
Hello.
Social Media Manager and Influencer Champion, it's Stig.
Hello.
And Office Secretary, Gadget.
Yeah, fuck, nothing's getting done. No one knows where anything is.
So, unfortunately, no Biggie this week as he's on annual leave. But in his place, what? We have a very special guest on the episode. It's professional tall man and legendary podcaster, Kefin Mahon. We welcome to the show and thank you for agreeing to join us tonight. Kevin.
Oh, thanks. It's a pleasure. Does this make me a modern escapist or escapee? I'm not really sure which title I can take, but I'll have either. Escapee, happy to have it. Happy to be here.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, before we get into the show, please consider becoming one of our sexy and incredibly cool patrons. Help us divide and conquer the podcasting world. Details are in our show notes, but mainly check out our website, modernescapism.co.uk, for more exquisite content and links to everything we do. So, what I want to do now, before we get onto the news, is Kevin, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm a tall, as mentioned, I'm tall first and foremost, and I've been a full-time podcaster coming up on 6 years this coming January. I am originally from Ireland. I live in Manchester now, and I host the Attitude Era podcast, Cinema Swirl, and How to Wrestling, and a couple of other things as well.
I have to say, actually, to those that are listening and not watching, you look absolutely incredible. You have the best hair I think I've ever seen. That's a good arrangement.
Yeah, I know. My hair has often been said it's been wasted in the audio world of podcasting. You know, it's. I really wish they had developed a way just to get that across on the microphone. I've yet to discover one yet myself.
It's quite spectacular.
It's the mustache for me. That's a glorious facial fuzz you've got going on there.
Well, you're in the twilight of mustache season now, because as the nights grow closer and the sun draws in, so does my mustache, and I will become a bearded monster for the sake of energy efficiency in the coming months.
It makes sense.
That's why me and Gadget do it.
Yep.
He does sport a very good beard. Can contest. I've seen many pictures of the beard.
Excellent.
It's a successful beard if you can successfully put one of those small pens from Argos in it and it can not fall out on its own. Then you know you're going to be adding some tog value to your face then.
I'm going to get a Sharpie in mine.
Yep, that counts.
All right, no showing off, okay? No showing off.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Biggie's breaking news, but there's no Biggie. Who's going to do it?
You may already know, but he doesn't, because it's time for Biggie's breaking news.
Me.
Take it away.
All right, I'm Biggie.
Not Walker McCoy.
Yep. Right, first up, some gaming news. Tencent and Sony to take stake in Elden Ring publisher From Software. Units of Tencent and Sony will make minority stakes in From Software. This is in a bid for Tencent to try and get a bit of more of a foothold within the Japanese market.
Yeah, makes sense. From Software's games sell ridiculous amounts, so of course they're going to
I'd
want
do
to
it
get
if I were them.
Yeah, Tencent is a Chinese company, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense them trying to push more into the Asian market. Next up, End Night Games tweet that Sons of the Forest will be delayed once again, but gives a release date of February the 23rd, 2023.
Is that the fifth delay?
This is their fifth delay, yeah. I've been waiting on this game for about 2 years now. It's on its first original release date. It looks
Is that
great.
Forest
though.
sequel?
Yeah,
The
Forest.
sequel. Yeah.
It just looks like they took everything from the first game and have just made it look incredible. There's so much good stuff in it, but they just keep delaying it. But I'm fine with that. I would rather it be delayed and it's right on release, because this is a game that you
Absolutely.
play with your friends online. So we need to make sure it's right. Otherwise,
You just need to be patient before you can skin humans
Yeah.
and stick their heads on spikes.
yeah, or make chairs out of their bones. No, right. Let's get it right. They're not humans. They are monsters. You do kill the monsters and make the chairs.
Trying to
out of
You're not
justify it.
savage or anything, like, yeah.
Yeah.
The monsters, guys. Yeah,
I got
clearly not.
everyone's like, why are you eating their heads? I was like, because it's meat and it's part of the game. And yeah, but apparently it set my insanity rating sky high.
Do worry
the
about
morals,
you.
mate. Even when you're playing games, morals first.
They're monsters. They're not human.
That's, mate, sounds like something a dictator would say. Anyway, next.
Halo Infinite Forge mode gets November release date, but split screen co-op is cancelled. In a new update, 343 announced details of the winter update coming November 8th, which comes with some long-awaited modes.
I find it quite odd to have a Halo game without split screen co-op. It's like ingrained in its
split
DNA.
screen's going the way of the dodo. I feel like it's really hard to find split screen games these days. And there was a time a couple of years ago where if something said it was multiplayer, you would assume that meant local, and now it's like it has this rare special. It's a couch co-op game if you can play it split screen. Like, I missed it. It's multiplayer, right? Where'd that go?
Your
exactly.
couch co-op games as well just tend to be like fun indie games. I mean, like, stuff like Overcooked and Moving Out, they're brilliant. But, I miss the days of playing Diablo 3 on couch co-op. That was a great one to have someone around.
Yeah.
Even older than that, just a racing game. Remember those?
Yeah. Good old days of Mario Kart.
Yeah, split screen
When
racing game.
your friend was in punching distance, that's what you really want to aim for. Them specifically.
I used to play SmackDown. What's it? Here Comes the Pain, something like that. I think it's called.
Best
that.
one.
Oh, there's a game.
That's the one I spent too many weeks on during the summer holidays. Wow.
Yeah, if you're a wrestling fan, you usually have at least one game that you play to an unreasonably large amount compared to all the other ones. It's like you play it for a few hours, or there's one wrestling game you play as much as most people play The Sims for like 7 years.
I did a full career on it.
Yeah, Here Comes the Pain was definitely mine. I played every inch of that game.
The best thing about it was it was clever with the multiplayer, because let's say you was a hardcore match, something like that, running out, you can run off, and then the screen split perfectly.
Yeah.
So no one was lost, and they didn't have to zoom out the camera too much, and on a big CRT telly, those were the days.
Just on the Halo thing as well, it's really ridiculous the state that they've left that game in. Like, the game was delayed by a year after that ridiculous reveal. God bless Craig.
Yeah.
Then it came out missing half the stuff that should be in a Halo game, but it conveniently had the Battle Pass and the ability to spend money in it. They did nothing with the Battle Pass. They delayed the second season. Players have dropped off it, and now, like a year later, they're going, we're finally going to get this mode that everybody wanted on launch, but you're not getting the other mode that everybody wanted on launch. That's cancelled completely. And it's just I don't know whether it's 343 are bad at making games or whether Microsoft are bad at producing games. It's one of the two. It could be both. It could be both.
Yeah, and obviously,
Next.
just quickly on that last one, the rational people of Twitter are campaigning to get Halo taken off 343.
Those rational folks.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Next up, Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family Plan is confirmed. It will be trialing first in Ireland and Colombia, and this will.
Why those two places specifically?
I don't know. They didn't say.
Twinned countries, Ireland and Colombia.
Microsoft's European operations in Ireland, and I guess their South American one must be in Colombia.
It's same with Apple as well. That's in Ireland.
There you go.
As well.
Yeah.
So could be that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should give everyone the benefits of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, including cloud streaming and the rotation of selection of games, but you'll be able to share it out with other people to use on their Xboxes.
That's badass. I love it.
Into
Can't argue with that. Anyone moaning at that is an idiot. You heard it here first.
I think they said it would be the equivalent of like four or five people on it for like $20 a month, which works out as like a 50% saving if you were doing 5 of them individually or something like that.
Mm.
There we go. We can all band together. £5 each on the podcast.
Yeah.
I need an Xbox first.
Despite the fact that both me and you stick have like 2 years worth.
I'm subbed up till 2024 with all those cheap deals. On to some films. We had a first look trailer of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Has anybody watched this trailer yet?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, bother.
Oh my god. So
I've not
so
seen
excited.
it. I've seen the stills. I've not seen the trailer.
Looks fucking shite.
yeah,
But in an awesome way.
Yeah, if you don't know what happened here, is that Disney lost the rights to Winnie the Pooh.
Disney never owned the rights to Winnie the Pooh in general.
It went into public domain, didn't it?
It went into public domain.
It.
Disney have the rights to their version of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, but this version of Winnie the Pooh and all of his crittery friends just go around killing people now. It looks as though after Christopher Robin grew up and left the 100 Acre Wood, that Pooh and his friends all turned feral and decided to kill anyone who ventured into their domain. So yeah, I'll give it a watch, but it's guaranteed to be absolutely awful.
Do you think it's going to be Pooh-Canon? Wait, that sounds bad.
Pooh-Canon in itself, that's disgusting.
Yeah, sorry guys.
We've also got an episode title already.
Yeah.
This one I'm really happy about it. The A24 film from director Darren Aronofsky about £600 Man Seeking Redemption has been starring Brendan Fraser, has been critically received well at Venice. So I get that out my words correctly. Anyway, I'm just happy that Brendan Fraser's new film is good by all accounts. So I'm really happy for the bloke. Because he obviously was going to come back in the Batwoman film as well, which has been cancelled. So it's nice to see that the other film that he's starring in is...
Oh yeah, it's nice that the film's actually getting fucking released.
Yes. Oh yeah, that is one thing.
I have messaged these people to ask him if he wants to go on the show.
He probably would, if you actually did ask him.
Yeah.
I need to pitch in my Mummy 4 idea.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That was excellent. Kevin, we did a episode on movie pitch ideas. And mine was The Mummy 4.
He's never been prouder of himself.
I haven't, because I didn't.
And tell me, does The Mummy 4 fall into the Dark Universe official timeline or not?
No.
That's all I care about after watching the new Mummy with Tom Cruise. The real Mummy, as we all know now. So, we're all nostalgic for Brendan Fraser. He means well, but Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise need our help. We need to get the Dark Universe off the ground. So let's all go watch The Mummy again.
Remember that photo that they all took? Sat at the chair? Stood beautifully. We need to see it. We need to see it.
Yeah. We need to see it happen. Exactly.
Yeah. Bring it back. We
should fund Universal.
Has Sam seen The Mummy on Cinema Swirl?
Yeah, we did. We actually did both of those mummies on Cinema Swirl. We did The Mummy and then That Mummy, as the new mummy is now officially known.
Oh, good.
The Mummy and That Mummy.
I've still got some episodes. I'm catching up on them, so I'm looking forward to that one. Next up, House of the Dragon director and showrunner reportedly quits, leaving the series. Hollywood Reporter claims that the series director and co-showrunner Miguel Sapochnik
nailed it.
Yep, will be stepping down as from the show with co-creator Ryan Condal, set to be the only showrunner left. Alan Taylor, who directed some episodes from the original Game of Thrones, will be stepping in as an executive producer. That sounds a lot worse than it actually is, I think.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's shit. It's problems on set and
some of his Game of Thrones episodes are some of the best ones.
Yeah, I had a look through to see what he's done.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't panic, guys. I wouldn't panic at all.
He'd done episode 9 of season 1, the finale of season 2, the penultimate episode of season 7 as well. So,
which is a fantastic episode.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it would be more worrying if both the showrunners left. That's when you need to worry.
But that's when you know that there's inside politics at play and someone's not agreeing creatively.
Yeah, it's just
worrying.
As long as they just don't get Benioff and Weiss back.
I don't think they're going to be working anytime soon.
No.
Show we'll be touching on soon later in the show. Lord of the Rings of Power is Amazon's biggest premiere of all time with 25 million viewers.
Unsurprising.
Yeah. Unsurprising at all. But yeah, we'll be talking about that later coming up. Netflix's Arcane became the first streaming series to win the animated program Emmy. It beat Bob's Burgers, Rick and Morty, The Simpsons, and What If?
I'm really happy
really
about
good.
this.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Deserved.
Yeah, it's one of the best things I've seen on Netflix. Have you seen it at all, Kevin?
No, I've not.
Oh,
You should.
It's really good.
Just for the artwork itself, it's just like, even if there were no story whatsoever, it should win an award for the artwork. But I just love the way they don't sort of patronize the audience, or they don't pander to children. It really is an adult show. Like, I was watching it again this afternoon. It's like my third time round. It's an easy sort of go-to show. I just absolutely love it. I can't wait for the next season.
Shame about the theme song, though.
What with the Imagination Dragons?
Yes,
and the music throughout as well.
I hate them.
It's fine.
It's fine. It kind of fits the show, actually, weirdly enough.
Does it?
Yeah.
Like, what is most astonishing is that it's a good thing that came out of League of Legends. I can't overstate how difficult a thing that is.
Oh yeah, I know nothing about League of Legends, but Arcane's sensational, and it's the closest we've got to like Spider-Verse when it comes to animation. And Into the Spider-Verse is like the best animated film ever made.
Also, shockingly enough,
Fight me.
despite how toxic they are, League of Legends players like Arcane. They universally agree that it's good. It's got a female lead, and they're not kicking off about it. It's incredible. It's like a wonder of the universe at this point.
Think about that.
Progress.
Girls smell. Ooh, girls. Am I right, Candy? Am I right?
Yeah, I do actually.
Also at the Emmys this year, the animated Emmys, Chadwick Boseman won a posthumous Creative Arts Emmy for his voice work on What If. Looking at the people that he was against, he's nailed it in that show. I really liked it.
He's good in it because you definitely know it's him, and he's playing a different role, and he was having fun with it despite everything that was happening in his real life. So yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah, it's really good. I really like What If. Steamson.
I did.
A lot of people didn't seem to get on with it, but I enjoyed it. So, and yeah, it was nice to have actually Chadwick do the voice, because there was a lot of characters that weren't voiced by the
that was imitating voices.
Yeah, and you could really tell with some of them.
Yeah, the Thor one was an imitator, wasn't it? It wasn't Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah,
and Iron Man.
Big Thor for the PS3 energy from that voiceover.
Anyone want to rag on some crypto bros?
Absolutely, always.
Bring it on.
Muse becomes the first act to top the UK charts with an NFT album.
Fuck's sake.
Ooh, Muse are now baddies. Stop listening to Muse.
It's fucking broke me heart. I didn't realize they were doing this, because I fucking love this new album. It's fucking brilliant, but
Delete the album.
Well, I was listening on Spotify. I can't delete the album.
Delete Spotify.
I mean, that means surely you haven't purchased an NFT then if you just listen on Spotify.
No,
you're fine.
They made 1,000 NFT versions of the album, which had weird custom artwork for each one, and so I don't get how it works. I don't understand how NFTs work. I understand how NFTs work. I don't understand how an NFT album would work, and also why it would contribute to the charts. I don't understand why the UK chart company would.
I think that's just creative headline work there. It's like, it's an album that also happens to have been released as a series of NFTs, has top number one, which is like not really saying much. It just was a matter of time before a very popular album was also released with NFTs. No, it's not.
Yeah.
But hey, you know, whatever makes people outraged about NFTs, because, you know, we're getting nostalgic for that now. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had that, you know.
Also weird fact on that. It got to the top of the UK charts with only 50,000 sales of the album. That seems really low.
That's not a lot.
I mean, I know, because
it's streaming though. Yeah.
I remember the days like when, you know, like The Darkness got to number one with or number two with their first album, with like nearly 1 million sales in a week.
Yeah.
Imagine that nowadays.
Well, even like Beyonce put an album out recently, and she got to number one in the Billboard in the US with 100,000. You think, hang on, it's fucking Beyonce. You'd think more than 100,000.
Queen B, watch your mouth.
No, I'm saying you'd think more than 100,000 people would buy the album.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we just live in that age now. Physical media is dying.
I bought one.
No, I don't.
Couple more stories to to round us off, Nirvana win lawsuit over the 1991 Nevermind album cover. US judges dismissed a man's lawsuit against Nirvana over the band's iconic album cover, in which showed him naked as a baby. Judge said he's left it too late to the claim and had.
Because we were dining out on it for years.
Yeah.
I was going to say, he used to go on and say, hey, I'm the Nirvana baby, and that used to get him in places.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he turns around and goes, actually, no, this is abuse. It's like, no, you were fine with it when you could make a little bit of money out of it.
Yeah.
Just one last one. I don't know if anyone managed to catch any of the Taylor Hawkins gig last night, but I just wanted to touch on that, really. Foo Fighters give a lovely send-off at Wembley Stadium.
What was it streaming on?
YouTube? It was on YouTube.
YouTube and Paramount Plus as well, I think.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It'll still be on YouTube. You'll be able to watch again. I missed most of it. I saw the last two songs, and I think I got the best part of it. It was Taylor's son actually, playing drums, and then Dave Grohl finished with Everlong. Was it? Yeah, Everlong.
It did, yeah.
Is this why I've seen clips of the guy who was in Eurovision with Brian May and Dave Grohl?
On
stage together. Is that because of that?
Yeah.
I don't know the guy that was in Eurovision.
They had
the blonde guy.
Paul McCartney was there, Queen, AC/DC.
Of course, Paul McCartney was there. He's there for everything.
Travis
just lives at Wembley.
Played on the drums. Roger Taylor's son, but as Candy said, Hawkins' son played on for My Hero, which was
that's lovely,
really great. Yeah, I'm gonna go back through and try and watch some of it because I did miss it. I missed some of it because of the wrestling. So
I watched some bits and pieces of it. Everything was excellent apart from Josh Homme singing Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. My God, that man should not be allowed near a microphone for anything other than Queens of the Stone Age songs.
Why is Josh Homme singing Elton John? Well, it's completely different styles of singers.
Yeah, so people were covering Taylor's favourite songs outside of the Foo Fighters stuff.
I get that.
And that is one of his favourite songs. So I don't know why they picked him to do it, but my God, he cannot sing like that. It was dreadful.
Elton John can't sing like that anymore.
Oh, no, Elton John could barely sing like that at the time without the drugs. It was so bad, even the BBC threw shade at him for it.
Wow. They're always impartial as well, that BBC.
Deserves it.
Oh yeah, I forgot you're not a big fan of Josh Homme, are you?
Not at all.
Apparently, Brian May absolutely nailed it with Love of My Life, so I need to go back and watch that.
Oh.
Love Brian May. Is that the news then,
That's
sir?
it. Compared to last week's, which went on for fucking ages. We managed to get through.
We did 45 minutes of news last week. Fantastic. So let's crack on with the segment of the show we call The Nexus, in which we discuss what we've been doing this past week or so, or in Kevin's case, his whole life. So, let's start as we mean to go on. Kevin, what have you been up to?
For your whole life?
My whole lot. If that's how you want to structure the question, it may be a bit difficult because I'll just have to talk for an infinite time. But very most recently, we were filming a special video project for the Attitude Era podcast, which will hopefully be coming out in the next month or so, which featured the three hosts doing a video together for the first time, which it was fun because we had to set up basically our downstairs room here as like kind of a mini studio because we wanted to do a multi-cam setup and lots of lights and all that. So the house has been a little bit chaotic. So we were watching Clash of the Castle yesterday then with like, ring lights all over the place, and there being, there was like 5 phones filming at different points. So we had a lot of hot phones basically. But we are just gearing up for our live show in the London Podcast Festival, which will be in the middle of September. We've sold that out, so no, you can't come. But we have, unless you have your tickets are of course still valid. But we are getting ready for that. That'll be in the middle of the month, and after that, we're getting kicked off with our brand new season. We have kind of finished up over the summer our 4th season, which had a pandemic in the middle of it, so it ended up being a particularly long go at it. So yeah, we're moving on to pastures green hopefully in the new year. And on other podcasts, Cinema Swirl, we just did some Rob Reiner goodness, did The Princess Bride, which was
listen to that.
I tell you what, like we just done Dumb and Dumber and Dumb and Dumber 2, and I was, oh my God, I felt like I had a hangover of like bad movie brain after watching Dumb and Dumber 2. It was an awful time.
Dumb and Dumber 2
basically,
is
we're
a
like,
crime.
It is a literal crime against the people of Malaysia. They defrauded them. How dare they?
Yeah, they did.
How dare a movie that bad defraud a country? That's so horrible. So, I've literally just been chain watching movies trying to get the bad taste out of my mouth. And it was like, right, we're doing Princess Bride. Like, it's the only way for it. So I watched North as well for the first time, which is Rob Reiner's alleged worst movie ever. And it stars a young Elijah Wood as a 9-year-old boy who has a heart attack in the first 5 minutes. And it's a kid's movie.
I didn't hate that. I didn't hate it.
I think it might just be after effects of Dumb and Dumber 2 still, but I think I was so desperate for a laugh that I was like, yeah, I love North. I loved the child having the heart attack. I loved the whole thing. It was a great Sunday movie. And we're halfway through doing Shawn Michaels for How to Wrestling right now. So we decided to split Mr. Controversy, Shawn Michaels, into 2 parts. And
As you do.
Part 1 is down, and it was heavy going. Let's just say it was. But having a hell of a lot of fun at the moment. I feel very lucky going into the winter that I'm hitting a lot of like my favorite kind of themes and topics in the podcast that I'm doing. So. I'm plugging away in the world of podcasting, folks, as per usual.
That's the job. Yeah, that's the job. Why not? Why wouldn't you do it?
That is my job. Yeah,
exactly. And that's why we got you on. Excellent. Thank you.
Because I was going to touch on it anyway, but you've obviously watched Clash at the Castle.
Yeah, go for it.
What were your thoughts on it?
I mean, I thought it had a lot kind of going for it in terms of it felt like really nice to see a city outside of America, other than in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, get the full WWE kind of experience and treatment. And I know a lot of people who live down in Cardiff. I have friends who live there, and they were all like, even some who weren't WWE fans were just absolutely blown away by like what like a cool print to put on the city for the time it was there. In terms of like a show itself, I thought it looked really amazing. I thought it had probably one of my favorite matches I've seen all year in Gunther versus Sheamus.
Oh,
Old
incredible.
habits.
It was so good.
Exactly. It was. And I mean, I'm looking, obviously we're recording this just before All Out's going to be on later tonight. And I'm excited for every single match on that card. And I still think I was more excited about Sheamus and Gunther. And I still thought that over-delivered. There's something about seeing that type of a match with a guy like Sheamus, who is the most WWE guy you can imagine, in front of, like, I've seen, Gunther live when he does that whole act with 100 people in the room, and it's very scary and it's quite an experience. You think that could never work with like a big stadium, and it did. I will say the end of the show, though, was one of the most bizarre goddamn things I've ever seen in my life.
What the fuck?
I don't know how they managed to end a big WrestleMania type show that was what they were hoping for, and they managed to get the vibe of like a sad birthday party that went on a bit too long. And there's just 2 people at the end, and they're one song away from tears, and I was like, something about Drew McIntyre going, "It didn't work out, but let's party." And I went on Twitter, and there were people I saw, and they were like, we will never forgive them for this. They had a moment, and they've ruined it forever. Like, it left a bad taste in some people's mouth. But I think that maybe that stands that people got into it. They wanted to see Drew win in his home country of Wales. It would have been nice, but I think as someone who spent a lot of his time professionally watching UK exclusive pay-per-views, it became apparent that it was more of a UK exclusive pay-per-view than the big, SummerSlam 92 iconic show that stands the test of time. It was a good WWE show, but I think that it was a little bit more concerned about the fans in the ring than putting on an iconic pay-per-view, television event, whatever.
Yeah, because I just, the way that they advertised it, I thought they were going to treat it like a normal pay-per-view, but as you said, it became apparent that it was very much just like your old typical like 2000s UK pay-per-views, which I've been to a couple of them, and not like none of the titles ever changed hands. It was always the same people who won.
Do you mean like when they used to go to like
show,
Sheffield Arena and stuff like that?
See, no, they're like the house shows where they don't get televised. They used to in the 2000s, or specifically like early.
Yeah.
it would be classed as a UK pay-per-view, so it'd be one you had to like buy on
Sky. On Sky box office or whatever.
Yeah.
And they treat it like it's a pay-per-view,
but nothing of consequence would happen, and the end would be the same. It'd be Stone Cold Steve Austin singing Oasis at the end instead. Is the only difference.
That's when I went to see him. He did that. When I went to see, that's exactly what he did.
So I've just looked up like what happened, because I don't watch wrestling and all that. But I do like when Stick talks about it, to find the out of context description on Wikipedia for what happens at an event, because it's usually hilarious. So this is the very last sentence of the main event for this. During the match, Austin Theory ran out and attempted to cash in his Money in the Bank contract, but professional boxer and UK native Tyson Fury, who was in the front row, knocked him out.
That was
After
great.
the match, Fury helped McIntyre up, assuring him he did well. The two led the crowd into some songs. Fucking mental.
It was so weird.
That's wrestling.
Yeah. But
I mean, wrestling's weird in general, but that's really fucking weird.
I listened to...
It was like a fever dream. It was incredible.
I listened to Post Wrestling's review of today, and one of the people who said, I was at the event, he said, after the event, Tyson Fury and McIntyre did this, and they just started laughing because they're like, that wasn't after the event. We all saw it on TV. It was like they forgot to stop recording.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a mistake or something. Yeah.
Someone's going, get off the air. I can't find the button. Yeah.
Right then, let's move on to someone that's definitely not been watching the wrestling last night. Candy.
Well, do you know what? This week I've started a lot of things.
She's going to prove me wrong now and say, yeah, I watch wrestling.
Imagine. Yeah, no, I can guarantee I haven't been watching it. No, I started a lot of things that I don't really want to talk about yet. I did watch one. I saw another fucking absolute stinker this week.
What do you keep doing this to yourself for?
Firestarter.
I already told you it was bad.
I didn't fully comprehend just how bad it was. Like, I was hoping. So this is the one starring Zac Efron and no one else.
Just him on his own. One man piece.
Might as well have been.
Yeah.
There was just no real redeeming features. Although I don't, like Stig said, there was no reason for me to go into it thinking it would be good. But I thought, I like horror films. I can't, like, the original was okay. I'll see what they did. And
the original wasn't okay.
It was okay. I mean, for its time, it was okay. It's never one of Stephen King's A-listers. It wasn't Carrie, it wasn't The Shining. I thought I'd give it a punt. Mercifully, it's only 90 minutes long. And that's the best I can say about it. And yeah, I mean, just the acting, it was just fucking, it was so bad. There was this lady who's meant to be sort of the chief of police. And she comes in giving it all, like, she goes all gangster. It's like the most unprofessional chief of police you could possibly imagine. And it's set
She's shooting with the side of the gun like this.
I mean, I don't remember that happening, but I wouldn't be surprised looking. But I think I sort of tuned out towards the end of it. But I mean, it was my own fault. Like, I was warned. I was hoping it was going to do that thing where it becomes so bad, it becomes spectacularly good, and it just tastes disgusting in my mouth to even speak about it. So I'm going to stop.
Another great review for the YouTubes there, Gadget.
Oh yeah, we'll get loads of hits for that one.
Anything else?
Nope, that's me.
You just watched Firestarter. Fantastic.
Gadget,
what have you been up to?
You're going to have to put that one on the pod art, aren't you?
Yeah, that's what I'm writing it down.
Yeah. It's been a bit of a quiet week because I started a new job this week, but there's been a couple of things I've been doing. I'm about halfway through a book at the minute, which is, everyone should really look into. It's called Kings of a Dead World. And for the life of me, I can't remember who the name of the author is.
Preparation is key.
I know, but I just remembered Jamie Mullart. He's a British author. It's a slightly too on the nose 1984 pre-apocalypse dystopia kind of thing. Basically, the idea is the world has run out of resources. So
like now.
Worse than now, although apparently this is the direction that we're going on. So what the United Government of the world decides to do is everyone becomes sleepers. So everyone gets these pods put in the house. You go in, you are put in a hibernation for 3 months at a time. You come out, you're allowed to be awake for a month, and you go to sleep.
So you're not draining everything while you're
awake. And then there are
the electricity.
Yeah, apart from all that. And then there are these people who don't hibernate, who are called janitors, who basically they act like stockbrokers. They trade with other areas for like resources throughout the time of the sleep. When the people wake up, they're then assigned an amount of credits. There is food in the shops and all that kind of thing. And it's fucking bleak. It's really fucking bleak. It's brilliant, though. It's very, very good.
That means you love it, then. You like those bleak ones.
Love a bit of bleakness. What else? After finishing Sekiro, I had no idea what to play, so I've gone back to Persona 5. And I forgot how kind of slightly noncy the game is.
Sounds bleak, too.
Yeah, it gets bleak in places where you've got to kind of...
I like how you described it as noncy.
It's a bit noncy. It's
a lot noncy.
Yeah. I'm only about a third of the way through the game. I'm only on the third palace, so I think it has the potential to get a lot noncier.
No, it's quite front loaded, that game.
Front loaded with noncing.
Yeah.
Oh, that could have been such a good title, but I'm not going to put that as an episode title.
No.
No.
Well, it's aside from the questionable morals of a lot of the things, it's still a really fun game. I really enjoy the kind of the mix of the exploring the palaces with the kind of traditional Final Fantasy style gameplay with and the kind of almost visual novel life sim stuff that you do in between it. And the characters are still fun.
They are nice people, aren't they? Then are you listening to the English dub or the Japanese dub?
I'm listening to the English dub just mostly because there's a lot of dialogue to read. So sometimes it's nice to be able to just like look away from the screen and listen to them talking.
That's understandable. I found some of the English dub actors a bit too much for my taste.
Well, like Ryuji.
So if you do get fed up of them, just slap the Japanese one on. It's still really really good.
But yeah, I guess the main thing I want to talk about is the fact that I've been learning to draw and doing artwork recently. It's been going on for a few weeks, but I kind of figured I had a quiet week, but I have been doing something this week, which I'm in the middle of and I'm quite proud of. But basically, about a month ago, or just over a month ago, I bought a Surface Pro because I'm a dick and I like spending money on toys.
Yeah, you do.
But I got it with the pen, and I thought, what would be a nice thing to do? I've always wanted to learn how to draw. So I got the Surface Pen with it, and I bought a license for Photoshop, and I've been learning how to draw. And I'm not very good yet. I'm working on it.
I thought you were going to say, I'm selling my art.
Well, the idea is I do want to be able to sell it because I'm going to get into this, and it'll go into our subject later, so I'll explain that bit later.
NFTs, yeah?
No, fuck off. I'm not going to destroy the world for the sake of £4 from a dickhead. But I'm really enjoying the process of learning how to draw. Photoshop is a dick. Absolutely horrible program to use at the best of times. But I enjoy just the sitting down there. I've got the telly on or a podcast on. I've got my Surface in my lap and I've got my pen. And I'm just doodling and drawing and finding shit to do. I've done a couple of pieces. I've done a couple of like Scorched sheep concept art pieces that in like a flat art style. I did a bit of Sekiro fan art, and I'm currently working on. So this week I'm recording the mid-season special of Scorched Sheep with some guests, not with you lot.
Okay.
And I decided I want it for the boss fight. I'm going to hand draw the map for it. It's going to be an entirely original map, not using like the templates or the tools that I use normally. I'm drawing the map for it.
Just explaining this to Kevin, it's a D&D podcast.
We also do a D&D podcast.
It's not a cartography podcast.
No. But yeah, so normally when I do the maps for Scorched Sheep, it's I use a tool called Incarnate or Dungeon Draft to build the dungeons. And it's all assets people have put in there and kind of programmatical stuff to build their dungeons. But I've always preferred the idea of drawing them by hand because they always look better and they always look more original. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to give it a try for this one shot. And give it a try, giving them a map that has come exactly from my brain and my hand and nowhere else. So, yeah,
It's awesome, mate.
I'm really enjoying doing digital art. And like while we're talking now, I'm actually downloading Photoshop onto my main PC. Candy suggested I get a drawing tablet, which I'll probably spend some money on at some point soon and like be able to do stuff from up here. Because the Surface gets really fucking hot when you do it.
You guys and your disposable income.
I know, right? Nice when you don't have kids, when you just have cats to feed.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes as bad as cats. It's kids, sorry.
From what you've been sending me, though, Gadget, you're doing really, really well.
Yeah, I thought that. I think some of the stuff you've done is lovely. To say you've not really done it before.
Mm.
Well, I got put. This is the sob story point because I got put off doing art when I was in school because I had one of those very classical art teachers. Because I unfortunately went to a posh school, which was very annoying because the art teacher wanted you to do things in a certain way, and you had to do case studies.
Posh school in the northeast.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was one.
It were named after the Queen Elizabeth High School.
Right.
Used to be a grammar school, so it had a lot of grammar school kind of vibes to it. But yeah, the art teacher had been there for like 10,000 years. He was practically fused to his desk.
Yep.
And he basically wanted classical styles. You had to use the proper tools. It had to be oils. It couldn't be watercolors. It all had all this kind of shit. And the stuff I wanted to do was kind of like weird kind of conceptual landscapes or kind of odd stuff. And he was like, no, do portraits. Like, I don't know how to draw.
He didn't want
people.
a nerd in his class. That's his,
didn't want the nerd.
He didn't want the nerd.
Yeah.
You're a nerd.
So unless you could do expressionism or portraits to a photorealistic degree, he wasn't interested in you. So he just told me.
I remember that at school. It was all in art. It was like, draw a hand. I don't want to draw a hand. I'm not bothered about drawing a fucking hand.
But because I didn't want to draw what he wanted me to, he was just like, oh, you're terrible at art. Go off and do something else. It was like, I never did art after that.
You could have said it's subjective, sir.
Yeah, but now I've got grown-up money I can waste and I can learn how to art.
You carry on that dream, mate. Yes. Excellent. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to me. I've been playing 2 computer games, guys. I'm not known to do that, so I thought I'd do it.
What, you mean
Kenny play games?
Kenny Gamerboy 22.
Yeah, that's the guy. I've played a game that, first, what I want to chat about, a game that everyone in our Discord has just been sucking its dick, really. It's best way to say it. Best way to put it. A game called Inscription.
If you say bad things about this, I'm going to kick you off this podcast.
Yeah.
It's a card-based escape room game type thing.
Yeah.
It's very hard to categorize. And I'm sorry to say this, Gadget, but I adore it.
Excellent.
I think it's
probably
one of the most original games I've played in the last decade.
Yeah, absolutely.
By a long stretch. I think it's
I'm really excited to play that.
Oh, it's just so good. And it's so cheap as well. It's like, it cost me like 15 quid. And I've got so many hours out of it already. I've not even finished it yet. But for people that don't know, basically, you start off and these eyes at the back of the room force you to play a game of like a tabletop RPG, card based.
It's kind of derived a little bit from Magic the Gathering. It's kind of got that's
a little bit
that same kind of like action and attack kind of values to your cards.
Yeah, a bit like Hearthstone and stuff like that. The classics. But it's really simple. It's not overcomplicated. There's not a billion cards. You don't have to deck build. It does it all automatically for you in a fashion. And it does the craziest twist. And it's not really a spoiler because everyone knows it does it in the trailers. You can get up. You can get up from the table and you can walk around and you can find out why you're in this log cabin with just a scary guy staring at you and questioning why you're looking at that clock and stuff like that and why you're trying to solve that. And you find cards in little puzzles around the cabin and they talk to you. It's weird. This is like he's trapped the souls in the cards or something along those lines.
I think there's 4 cards with personalities and like some of them are really eager to get going. One of them's fucking miserable. One of them tells you off every time you try to play him.
The stoat.
The stoat, yeah. The stoat's a miserable little shit.
He doesn't like life.
No.
But yeah, it's just a really, really solid card game in itself. It didn't have to do the extra stuff it does, and the extra stuff it does just pushes it even further. I think it's sensational, and I'm playing it on PlayStation 5, which you shouldn't really play card games on a PlayStation or with a pad at all. To be honest, it's not what it's built for, but it does the impeccable thing of making it work perfectly. I don't know how it does it. I genuinely, I haven't finished it yet, but it's a stone cold 10 out of 10. I just think it's sensational.
As soon as you finish it, text me your thoughts because I desperately want to know what you think of the ending.
I've got to the last quote unquote boss, but it's just the random number generator is not in my favour. And the last few times, but it's such a pleasure trying to get back to it and carry on. And and realize these bosses that you were struggling on, you're just smashing them now. You're kicking their ass.
It's great when you can stomp through them. When you've learned what their moves are going to be, what their openers are going to be, so you know which cards to put down first, and how to deal with them quickly. I think I remember doing the angler in my record doing him before I finished it was like 3 turns. Because I
did him in 4 turns the other day.
Because I had like the right cards lined up. Like I got him the first turn using the pliers to pull me teeth out. Trust me, that means it's something in context.
It does.
And then I had just the right cards to absolutely fucking nail them in the second round. It was just like, yeah, fuck you, angler.
I just think it's best in class, really, and it's contemporaries.
Absolutely.
Whatever these guys do next, I'm all over it. But
it's one lad. It's one bloke.
One bloke?
Yeah.
Doing all that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Look, I'm 29 years old and I haven't even
fucking not
done that yet.
and the rest.
Okay, I am however old I am, and I've not achieved anything towards that kind of greatness. It's just sensational. But the other game I want to talk about, and one of the big hotnesses of the month, I'm playing still The Last of Us Part 1. It's back. It's back, and it's 70 quid. So off the bat, let me just preface this. This is the same game we got in 2013, I think. Is it 2013?
Yeah, 2013 it came out.
Yeah, the year my son was born. And it doesn't feel like it's that game anymore. It's whatever they've done, the modernization of it. It works. And like Gadget, you watched me stream it for a bit, didn't you? And you said, this is how I remember it looking.
Yeah.
It's not. Trust me. It didn't used to look like it looks now.
It's one of those things, like, I can see the difference when people put up, like, the comparison photos of it.
Yeah.
But I think because I haven't played it for, like, 3 or 4 years now, like, looking at you playing it's just like, it's The Last of Us. It looks like The Last of Us, you know?
It is. The remake is the wrong word. It should be remaster. Do you forget what I mean? Because they remastered it already and they brought it out again. But again, I got this for £1. That's the reason why I own this game, because I did a Facebook raffle and I won some PlayStation credit for £1. So I thought I'd get it. And for £1, I think this is a solid, again, like the original 10 out of 10. For 70 quid, you have to substantially knock that score way back down.
Or what about the people who paid £100 for those special editions that are getting wrecked?
Oh, I saw that.
Well, that's fucking tragedy, that, mate. It's tragedy.
Yeah. Tragic.
But it's still one of the greatest games ever made. Regardless of what you think. It's not like when they keep re-releasing Skyrim and it's still crap.
Hey.
Whoa now. Whoa.
I'm sorry, I'm just doing a bit of fishing there.
Did you see that Angry Joe, for his review of it, re-uploaded his remastered review? he just uploaded the same video again with remastered in the title.
That's what it should be. It's not a I mean, the quality of life stuff they've done on it, you notice it. Everything's smoother, everything, like, there's slight tweaks to the gunplay and the aiming. There's also the accessibility in this is probably the most accessible game I've ever played in my life. You can literally have it on like one button mode, which is just
I think the second one did that. I think they've bought all the stuff that they had in the second. They've put into this one as well.
Yeah, it makes it like colorblind or shade blind or any kind of sight problems. You've got that. You can even play it technically, and I couldn't imagine how easy it'd be. You can play it if you're blind, because it's got description mode, complete description mode, and that must be an experience. I'd love to watch someone do that, but I don't know any completely blind streamers. It's not a thing at the moment.
I tell you what. Why don't we blindfold you? Put some headphones on you and see how far you get.
Yeah, well, we could do, because I am because obviously I've played it before. I'm playing it on the hardest difficulty to get the actual most out of it. Do you know those 4 bullets I had on that stream, Gadget?
You still got them?
Still got them. I'm like 8 hours in now. I've still got those 4 bullets I got from the beginning of the game, because I'm playing it as if I were playing it. If I was Joel.
Oh, he's gone full role play.
I wouldn't be firing shots because you're giving yourself away. And, like, if you get it, rather than, like, when you get your scrap and stuff and you can craft things, I'm crafting shivs and stuff that's more to do with, like, throwing bottles so the enemies go towards them and I'm just escaping. I'm just leaving rather than, like, when I used to play it originally on the PS3, I was just fighting everything.
Yeah.
Just fight everything because you've got 9 million.
In normal mode, you can do really, can't you?
Yeah. It's making me take so much longer. And, like, Ellie can be killed and stuff like that, which is, it's not something that she couldn't be killed last time. And if she ran in front of an enemy, they didn't even notice her. Now they do.
I always thought that was really, really funny when you were sneaking around in, like, a clicker area and Ellie's, like, running from place to
running
place.
around.
That happened to me. I was, like, hiding behind this, it's like in a kitchen behind, like, a breakfast bar thing, and I'm like that as Joel. And the AI for Ellie, she's just running around it. And the enemy's walking down the hall, doesn't notice her, turns around and walks the other way, and she's just there running around in a circle.
They do the clever thing of nearly most encounters. He didn't do it in the original because I've double checked. He'll go, Ellie, stay back. And she does. So, do you know what I mean? And then, I know you've got to suspend your disbelief. She'll appear at the end of the encounter next to you.
Yeah.
I'd rather that. Wherever she was hiding, she was doing really well at it. And, yeah, it's just the models and, like you said, Gadget, the lip syncing's still not what you'd expect. And it's not.
No.
It's not the best thing about it, but...
Especially considering how good the lip syncing was in part 2.
Yeah, like when you play with the photo mode that's in it now, and let's say you're squeezing or you're drawing back the bow, and you're going photo, like Joel's face, he's like really drawing back a bow, and I don't know, it's just the immersion about it, and like all the posters and stuff, they're not all blurred messes, and everything's just, the fidelity is just, it's sensational, and it's got 5 exclusive podcasts on it that you can listen to while you're playing the game about the actual game, and it's got a director's commentary from the beginning of the game even all the way up to the end, where Neil Druckmann just talks about the whole thing throughout.
I think I'll still wait for it to hit PS Plus.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, it's 70 quid.
Yeah.
I can't. That's the problem. It's a 10 out of 10 game that I cannot recommend to anyone. Because it's so expensive, and the original remaster, does the job.
I say you can get it for a tenner. It's still it's despite the lick of paint
it's
on
still
it,
stunning.
It's still a 2013 game, but it's still a stunning game.
Yeah, it is. And like I remember on the previews they said, "Oh, it does all the things that Last of Us 2 does." It doesn't. You can't prone and stuff like that. You can't crawl through the grass and stuff. There's still the stupid moments, the game moments where Ellie can't swim, so you've got to get her an identical raft. Doesn't matter which state you are in the country, there's always an identical raft somewhere. There's still those moments, but I don't know, it's still brilliance and excellence rolled into one, but 70 quid, don't do it. No. Do not do it. You will be disappointed. I mean, I'm looking at Candy, it looks like she's already bought it.
No, I've got no interest really. I played the remaster and it was fine. Do you know what? Last of Us has just never really been one of my favourite games.
You didn't like the second one, did you?
No, but not because I didn't enjoy playing it. I just found the intro, that scene are just a little bit too much, and it sort of put me off it.
Yeah.
But the game itself, like the game to play, I just don't find that fun. I'd be quite happy to just watch it on TV on YouTube. Somebody doing a playthrough.
Wait,
the HBO show coming soon.
Yep.
But yeah, again, I mean, my final thoughts on it, it's a 10 out of 10 game that I can't recommend to anyone. So make of that what you will. So let's move on finally to Stig. And I know you want to talk about something that a lot of us can jump into.
Yes. Well, first up, obviously I watched the wrestling. I really enjoyed that. I'll be watching AEW. I have to wait till tomorrow night, unfortunately. But I'm looking forward to that. But I just wanted to quickly touch on She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. I caught up with that this week. I really, really like this. I'm really enjoying it.
I do.
I still think that the TV is the best stuff in Phase 4.
It is way better than
everything that they've done, bar Falcon the Winter Soldier, is completely different to the films. And it's
they're all different genres, and they're all different genres.
Yeah, it's kind of telling that that's the show I like the least, and yet it's the one that follows the formula of the films the most. Even though, everyone knows I'm a huge, massive fan of them, but I just haven't really been into this phase in terms of the films. But the TV, I'm loving, and again, this show is just, it's completely different to anything they've done in the films. I really like Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters.
Nailed it.
And just the comedy, it just hits for me. I like that she isn't just another version of the Hulk. She has her own character, her own personality. And
it's sexy.
I know you like the big green woman.
It's very sexy.
Did you almost faint at the twerking scene?
Yeah, mate. Stig told me to stay behind for the after credits because he knows I'm one of those people that just run off. I'm glad I stayed behind.
But yeah,
love that big giantess.
Yeah, the fourth wall breaking's done really well. It's not, you see a lot of people online and go, no, they're just copying Deadpool. Obviously, they're not because She-Hulk did it a long time before Deadpool. I think the complaints that people are having about the way she's presented are ridiculous as well, because read the comics, look at the comics. It's exactly how her character is in the comics. It's the typical people, you know who they are, that are complaining and trying to...
Oh, we know who they are.
Yeah, kick up a stink about it. But yeah, it's in general, I'm really, really liking it. And I kind of think it's one of those shows that you could keep this completely separate to the MCU. She wouldn't have to be in a film. This could run for 4 or 5 series where they just bring in
on its own,
superheroes, and she has to deal with their problems as a lawyer. Like she's the person that has to deal with all the crap that's being caused by superheroes or beings. Like in the recent episode, there's like an elf in there and stuff like that, and it's really cool. And also, it's showing as well that Wong is this phase's Nick Fury. He clearly is like the Nick Fury of this phase, because he's popped up again in this show. Like he keeps popping up everywhere. And that was.
And
really
she makes
good.
a comment on it as well.
Yeah, yeah,
it's so good. It's so clever.
Yeah. Again, it's hitting right for me.
I like that they actually did some courtroom stuff as well. It's not just, like you said, a sort of rehash of all the action. It just doesn't take itself too seriously, really. I think the people that are going into it thinking it's going to be like this integral part of this phase and everything are probably looking at it the wrong way. It's just a bit of fun.
Yeah,
I think that's what you should
exactly.
look at.
Yeah. I think some people just expect her to be smashing everything. And it's like, no, that'd be boring.
I mean, we've even got to the point now where even Hulk himself, he's not a smasher anymore. He finds it, what does he say on Endgame? Egregious.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the old Hulk.
I do want the old Hulk to appear at some point, though. I want them at some point.
A rampager.
Where he can't control it. He's lost control, and we do have a bit of a rampager. So...
I think it would be nice to have the Hulk go on a rampage and She-Hulk having to defend him in court.
I mean, it's nice to see.
Pretty much happens in
Tim
episode
Roth
3. So
it does, yeah. But it's nice to see Tim Roth having a fucking real heck of a time there. He's enjoying himself so much.
Yeah.
He's just chomping on that scene.
Oh, is he the bad guy in this one? Is he?
No.
No,
it's not. That's what's good about it. No, it's not. It's just so special. And people saying, I'm bored of the MCU stuff. How can you be bored of every single genre going? It's got something for everyone. You don't have to watch everything. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick and choose is the best thing with MCU stuff always.
Exactly. You can skip stuff, which absolutely skip things you're not interested in. Just pick out the little nuggets that you do like, and this series is playing on stuff like Law and Order and Criminal Minds and stuff like that. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's the best word to describe it. Is fun. And I said the fourth wall breaking stuff is spot on and perfect. There is a moment, and what's what it is, where she breaks a fourth wall in episode 3, and it's great. What she says to you is it's brilliant.
Yeah.
She's saying it to me, actually, mate. She's talking to me.
No, they're just the voices in your head.
Oodles, go take a cold shower.
Yeah, but I know that myself, Oodles, and Gadget have watched this week. I'm not sure if you two have as well, but I obviously watched the new Lord of the Rings show, The Rings of Power.
Not seen it yet, unfortunately. No, I'm very excited to watch it though. It looks intriguing.
We'll be discussing it spoiler free.
Yeah, no spoilers, but just it's incredible. I
fucking
really,
brilliant.
really, really liked it, and you can tell that this had £700 million spent on it because it is the best looking TV show I have ever seen in my life. It's up there with just top of the range films. Like,
it is
so good.
It looks better than some $1 billion films.
Yeah.
I think
so
as well,
impressed.
it manages to hold the visual style of what Peter Jackson laid down for the films, but it's still doing its own thing. There are some twists on the themes, but where you get the prologue to it, where you see the Undying Lands. Like, we've never seen that in the Lord of the Rings thing before, and it was fucking spectacular. And it was just fields and a tree, but it looked so good.
It was straight out of the books that I've read. It looks like how high I imagine that they'd look. There's a reverence to this that you don't get in a lot of shows. And Al Bezos must have actually opened his wallet for this one because...
big time.
He's gone, go on, it is a blank check, do what you want, we need to beat Game of Thrones. And
there's a good chance they're good. Yeah,
they're mine.
Yeah, but I don't want to compare the two. I see people going, "Oh, I prefer House of the Dragon to this."
Yeah, one's for adults, one's not.
But the only thing that's similar is they're set in fantasy world. In terms of story and tone and everything else, they're completely different. One is a
Lord of the Rings is a family film, isn't it? Family show.
In a way,
the thing is, though, when you're talking about fantasy, I think it's almost the reason you do go to compare it to Lord of the Rings is Lord of the Rings set the way for so many, like it was a springboard for so many fantasy things. And even if they do things completely different, people are always going to look back and compare it to that because that's kind of what kicked it off, and that's what we get a lot of the ideas, like the strong kind of fantasy elements from.
Yeah,
that's where Dungeons and Dragons came from.
Well, it's like our conception of dwarves, elves, and orcs all came from Lord of the Rings. Like every fantasy property since has used that template.
Yeah,
like everything in fantasy goes back to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but what I mean really is that you don't have to go, I didn't really like
you don't
Lord
have to
of the
compare
Rings.
the two.
I prefer House of the Dragon or vice versa. They're completely
House of Dragon's a political fantasy epic.
With dragons.
And Lord of the Rings is an adventure epic.
Mm. Yeah,
that's the difference.
The first episode, very exposition heavy, very elven heavy, but it really just looks amazing. The second episode, I thought, was where it really kicked up again. You start getting introduced to more people, more things. There's a few questions there already for you to ponder over, and I really, really loved it. And I'm kind of back into that mode where I like a weekly release, so we can talk about it weekly and we can discuss it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
But I also want more of this now.
It's doing well at like presenting situations that are kind of contained within the episode, but also giving you questions as to trying to find out what it gives you questions to keep asking about what's going to happen next. Like I think the big one for me was kind of the scene on the raft in the second episode. And you get a lot of this conversation between Galadriel and Halbrand. It's like, but who is Halbrand to this? He's being given a lot of screen time here for someone to be just an extra for an episode. There's just something important about him. It's just like, what the...
Unless you already know the law.
Unless you know the law, but it's like... and also, the inclusion of characters like Arondir. I really like Arondir. He's... Because he was the one when all the trailers come out, oh no, you can't have a dark-skinned elf. Like, fuck off, you can.
Yeah.
Well, I like how
there were dark-skinned elves in the books way back then.
The way he's playing it exactly the way he should for that character. And he's perfect for the role. I really like it. It's so good.
Yeah. Took me way too long to realise that was Lenny Henry, though. Way too long.
Yeah.
You're not used to seeing him with white mutton chops, that's why.
No.
He's good. He's good.
He's very good.
He's good as one of the half.
He's also speaking in an Irish accent as well. That doesn't help.
Yeah, he's not Brummy.
I think I'd like to do once this is over, a podcast about it all. We can't really talk about much about it now because there's only 2 episodes in. We don't want to spoil it for anyone, but suffice to say, I'm in. I loved it. I think it looks incredible.
I'm in.
I think it takes, like Gadget said, it takes what Jackson did and just expands on it, but without
But not in the way he did with The Hobbit.
Without copying it, yeah. Those don't exist.
The only reservations that I had about it was that, obviously, because they're telling a story in the Second Age, they had characters who would have been alive then, but they basically recast Galadriel and Elrond. And that was the only thing I was worried about. Like, Morfydd Clark, who plays Galadriel, she fucking looks like Cate Blanchett. She sounds like Cate Blanchett. She's so fucking... Like, you get those close-up shots of her eyes, and it's just like, is that Cate Blanchett?
And the guy that plays Elrond is the guy that played young Ned Stark in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
in the flashbacks.
Yeah, what's his name? Robert.
He's just called young Ned Stark. That's his
name. No. The actor's name.
That's his real name.
Arameo.
Arameo, that's it. Yeah, he's really good. He's really good, and again, he's kind of nailing that Hugo Weaving vibe.
Yeah. The thing is, I mean, elves do age, so you can get away with them being younger actors.
Well, yeah, but
they do age, but very, very slowly.
Yeah,
my favorite character was
Millennia.
Durin, though. He was great.
Oh, Durin's amazing. Love Durin.
Yeah.
They've got the dwarves spot on in this.
Yeah.
It is rare to jump into a brand new show, and I've got no negatives currently. This is very rare. I've got nothing to pick at. I like that they're deviating away from the source material just enough to keep me on my toes. Someone that knows all about it. I'm like, oh, they've done this instead of that, and oh, this person's not here yet, and now they are, and all that kind of stuff.
I think they're compressing some of the timelines a little bit, like
massively.
Without getting into spoilers. There's something that happens that shouldn't happen for like another 1,000 years.
No, I know what you mean,
but I do think it's really accessible. Like, having to remember place names and people's names, it does a very good job of settling you in and getting you into that world and where you are,
and it shows you the map. It shows you the map where you are.
What they've done with the map, I think, is the best nod they've done with it, because everyone who will watch this will know the Middle Earth map, but place names aren't the same in the Second Age as they are in the Third Age. So having the map go over the familiar, see the Southlands and what would have been kind of Gondor to Mordor, kind of those areas, but you see it's written as the Southlands, that helps because you can place where everybody is.
Yeah.
It's fucking brilliant. And I really love the graphic of the map moving over. It reminds me of the Game of Thrones opening, because it's really well rendered and well put together. Oh, it's so fucking good. I can't wait for Friday for the next episode.
Yep.
I do wish I'd have waited and just watched them all at once, though. I'm a bit like Stig now. Come on, I want to watch it.
I couldn't have waited.
Your FOMO would have hit it.
Oh, yeah. Majorly. Excellent. So that is the Nexus done and dusted with. Let's move on to the main topic now, because this is why we've got Kevin on. Basically, we're talking about careers and creativity as well. So creative careers, which Kevin does. So if you could take your creative side and make a career out of it, what would you do and why? That kind of thing. So, I mean, we can cheat a little bit because Kevin does. he does do it. So we'll start with you a little bit, Kevin. Like, tell us about your little journey.
I mean, if it's like how the podcast became my job, it was, it never was the plan. It was never something that I set out to do. And I think I've always, told myself if I could go back in time and tell myself when I was like, a teenager that this is what I would be doing, I'd probably like fuck it up somehow and get like really paranoid that I'd mess it up or something like that. So, I kind of pursued a lot of different like academic kind of sides. I was involved in research. I did, stuff with moon bears and centipedes. Wow. I was surveying the nation about domestic cats and electric fences and containment of animals, all sorts. And it was something that I thought that I really want to do, would be like to be, just a animal behavior scientist or something like that. And, basically, I found myself always wanting to do something else on the side. I always felt there was kind of a need to do an academic thing and also do kind of something silly. So I would do like stand-up comedy, or I do, student radio, which I always think is a really great way to kind of get experience doing a lot of different creative things at once is doing live radio. It's the absolute best preparer. And it just kind of, the podcast came along and think like the first one in 2013 when I was doing work at the University of Lincoln. And, the job at Lincoln didn't work out. I kind of got a bit burnt out from it. Decided I wanted to do different things, wanted to kind of more involved in the teaching side of things. So I thought I'd get a teaching degree. I could always get a job come what may. Kept doing, a podcast on the side, and that podcast turned into 2 podcasts with Cinema Swirl with my friend Sam, who used to do. Yeah, exactly. They multiply. They're like rabbits, these things. There was a period of time in my life, I think, where every person I met who was an important part of my life, I went and I started a podcast with, because Adam and Billy were my good friends. I did the AdShare podcast with them. I met Sam, who I did stand-up with. We went to Edinburgh together and did a show that we did that. Jo, who I'm engaged to now, she is, How to Wrestling, we do together. And, there was probably a period of my time when I was working in teaching. I was working in, some colleges, teaching kind of, animal behavior-y stuff. And I was keeping the podcast going on the side. And it was really tough. You could probably listen to some of the episodes from those years. Like, you hear the sound of a guy who's kind of commuting back at 2 a.m, having watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, to get up at 5 to go teach, biology to a bunch of A-level students. It was a weird time. And I was finding myself getting into a bit of a rut. We moved to Manchester. I started this kind of, thought it would be a dream job. Thought it'd be a lot more flexible, working in a different kind of environment. I didn't get on with it. It was bad for my mental health. I found myself kind of getting less motivated, getting less joy out of it. And teaching is like a very joyful activity for me. And the fact that I was like, I didn't want to become one of those people who became burnt out, and I was becoming burnt out. And we had started a Patreon for How To kind of a while back, just to kind of cover costs and stuff like that, and have a little something on the side. And we decided, AdShare podcast is on a break, we'll come back. I decided to leave my job like kind of really on a whim. And it was Jo, entirely down to her, who gave me the pep talk, basically. Jo, and also, if under consultation, Ash Farbrother from that, he gave me a kind of a talk of like, well, you're at the point in your life now, if you want to try something like this, you should try it.
Yeah,
so I kind of, yeah, exactly. And I think if I was found myself in a similar position now, looking back then, I wouldn't advise me to do, I'd be like, oh no, it's too scary or whatever. So I took a risk. I quit my job and we launched the Patreon. And I was like, well, what come what may. And just kind of, it's honestly been a bit of a blur, because that's like nearly 6 years ago now. And there's 3 shows, 3 Patreons. It's a lot of content, and the job is interesting in the sense that it's not just, sitting around watching wrestling all day and watching movies, because you have to be very kind of careful. I learned quite quickly that if I do that, I'll just become a vegetable who's not particularly fun to listen to on a podcast. So, and I'll tell you what as well, you don't want to be starting something that, you're passionate about, creative side. And I see all these YouTubers and Twitch streamers, and they're like 21, and they're like, I love video games, and now I'm so burnt out, I never want to play a video game ever again.
Yeah. It's same with journalists as well, video game journalists. They hate games.
and once it comes into like kind of the case of it being a grind or whatever, so I kind of got a bit worried early on, and I was like, oh no, AEW's come along as well. This like really amazing wrestling that I want to watch all the time on my downtime. And I'll spend, like 6 hours in a day watching wrestling. And they're like, I want to watch the 3-hour wrestling show. And,
now you've got to take notes.
Yeah, so like, I mean, I guess it's a weird little complaint in the grand scheme of things, but turning something creative and something that's a passion into a job, there comes kind of different responsibilities with that. And kind of remembering what made your... I mean, it can't be the same for everyone, because you could be somebody who just kind of makes something and that's that. But for me, I feel there's a lot of myself in the podcast, and it's a lot of kind of a reflection of me and how I'm feeling and what I've been up to and stories from my life and stuff. So I didn't want to just turn it into a job and then it no longer was something that was exciting or fun to do. So that's kind of like the weirdest part of the pivot into doing something creative as a job, is remembering that the whole point of it being creative is that it's creative because it was fun, and it's fun because it's creative. Yeah. So you have to try and keep that kind of together. So, I mean... It's a weird as hell job, and sometimes it can feel like if I don't plan my week right, I can like absolutely screw myself and like have insurmountable mounds of stuff to do, and I can make it very not fun for myself. But I would say, if I'm giving any advice to anyone who wants to get involved in something creative or pursue turning their side hustle or their creative project into something bigger, surround yourself with people who you love, get on with, who make each other laugh, and also have various skills, because I can't do Photoshop for dick, and I luckily surrounded myself by lots of people who can do that, and I've coasted through that for my entire media career as a result. So yeah, I mean, it's still something I don't think my parents understand. I was home for
So I do radio
Christmas.
with no music.
Yeah, and like my dad does listen to Cinema Swirl, bless him, if he can get Stitcher working for him, which is the one app that he knows how to open, which I think is it's sweet, like, you know. But it's the type of thing where my parents have kind of stopped telling other adults, I say, being an adult myself, but they don't really tell other people what I do because they're scared that they can't describe it, but they don't want to admit that they don't know what it is. So I'm kind of left in this, like, I'll meet an uncle and they'll be like, what are you doing now? I'm like, do you watch wrestling? I talk about that. That's me, you know, that's what I do now.
And I bet they're like, are you a commentator then? No, I'm not a commentator.
Well, what I loved most was meeting Joe's grandparents for the first time. And, you know, meeting the grandparents and kind of tell them, hey, I wrestle podcasts. That's what I do. And the grandfather kind of gave me a bit of an odd look. And then later in the evening, where I felt I'd earned his respect a bit more, he turned to me and went, of course, there's a rich history of wrestling here in Great Britain, Kevin. And I hear it's going through something of a resurgence. He'd seen a report on ITV about British wrestling. So
Giant haystacks coming back.
He knows what he's doing, this lad. It's all right. It's safe pair of hands.
Oh, that's lovely.
Excellent. I've been listening to. I've been listening to the Attitude Era podcast since 2013. It's
OG over here.
Yeah,
he has actually mentioned it on this show before.
Yeah.
5 times.
So he's not kidding. He's not even just.
He's counting. He's
counting.
counting.
That's kind of when I first started listening to podcasts, and it's like, right, okay, what am I interested in? I like wrestling, movies, like football. Right, go and have a look to see what ones there are out there, and obviously, Attitude Era podcast, the podcast that talks about my favorite time in wrestling, and a lot of people.
The only time in wrestling I like.
A lot of people our age is, you know, favorite time in wrestling. So yeah, of course, I'm going to listen to that, and it actually was. I didn't listen from the beginning, but it was very close. And around that time, I'd actually lost a job, and I was just doing like a warehouse job. But that kind of
so you went back.
But it got me through the night shifts. It really did. Like,
yeah, and that's the power of a podcast, because Cole Cabana's podcast got me, like, between, you know, deciding to be a teacher and not being a science researcher. I worked as a mailman for a couple of seasons, and that was when I got really into the idea of podcasts, because I was like, hey, I'm pounding the pavement, you know, 10 hours a day, and it feels like a doddle because I'm listening to this funny guy in my ear. Like, this is a great format, you know. I always knew what they were, and I think people know what podcasts are, but if you meet someone who's like, a podcast has gotten them through a commute, or it gets them through the dishes every day, or their long walk they have to do, or whatever it is, that's like kind of, you know, someone who really gets why podcasts are special or good.
Yeah. You're doing a service.
Do it for the working man and woman. That's what we're doing it for. Yeah.
Absolutely. Excellent. So what we're going to touch on now a little bit is what we want to do creatively as a career. I mean, you can jump in as well, Kevin, if you wanted to do something even crazier than what you do now. I'll start just to get the ball rolling, because my dream job creatively is something that I don't really speak about that much. It's not something I've ever told anyone, but and it's something that someone in this call has actually done. Gadget has released a book. He is an author, and I've always wanted to write my own books, but I have ADHD, and it's very difficult to sit and write a book when you can't sit for more than 5 minutes without moving, or wanting to chase that bird that's flying past the window, or anything, basically. You've seen that dog on Up, haven't you?
You've got ADHD, you're not a cat.
Mate.
There's definitely cat DNA in there somewhere.
Probably.
Yeah, there's some there. And
he just sit licking himself all day.
I do. And preferably, I'd want to do something that is now got to the point where, and I wanted to do this like 15 years ago, but it's so popular now that I'd just be swallowed up by everything. I wanted to do like mindfulness and those kind of books, but it seems anyone that's been on Big Brother now can release a mindfulness book. I mean, it's just in the zeitgeist now that every celebrity's now a yogi or something like that. You know what I mean? So I can't do none of that.
I mean, to be fair, it's getting to the point where people like that Andrew Tate fellow who was on Big Brother, then went on to do mindfulness stuff, and then went on to be crypto bro, then went on to be
he's a horrible human
scammer person, massive
the alpha male.
Yeah, so you want to be careful with what you want with that shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying, like a lot of, especially celebrities, the people already kind of famous, just I'm just going to release a podcast, and they know they'll get the figures that people listening know that,
and
which is why I kind of like. One of the reasons why I want to take Kevin on as well is because I respect so much about what you've done in taking what was probably essentially just a fun thing you were doing with your friends and running with that and creating a career and a job out of it.
He's done it before the craze kicked off.
Yeah, you've done it before the craze kicked off, and you've done it, and you've really run with it. And it isn't like you've just gone, I'm famous, I'm going to release a podcast. Like to me, you've done it the right way.
We all have to deal with the tidal wave of pandemic podcasts. Like,
hello.
Just because you're a celebrity and you've got good representation, you can't get a decent USB microphone apparently in your echoey ass apartment. Like, I mean, it's. I feel about the book and all that, and it feels like these days, like every market is kind of completely saturated.
Yeah.
But I think. Honestly, the creative things that always stand out, and even if it only gets you a small audience at the start, and I think it's what got us an audience at the start to begin with, was just the fact that you could tell it was some people who were having fun and they liked what they were doing. They weren't doing it because they thought they were going to make money out of it. They weren't doing it because they thought it was like the next big thing or whatever. And that goes for like things like your mindfulness book or whatever it is. People will be able to see and tell straight away if something's the cash grab, or if something is coming from more of an earnest place. But it is, it's tough these days because it's kind of like you are fighting against like a really like industrialized process now where it's like, hey, if you're a new comedian or whatever it is, you'll get the book deal, you'll get the podcast, you'll get probably the YouTube series or whatever it is. It'll all be it's all part of the deal now. But I think, there is enough people out there who still appreciate things that I think people can recognize something with YouTube and with Twitch and stuff like that. People are good at audiences are good at finding out something that's authentic and something that is kind of just in it for the cash, whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with something being in it just for the cash. If you're upfront about it and that's all it is, and it's sponsorships and cash and all that you want, that's fine. But like I've seen a lot of folks when they kind of set up a podcast, and I used to do a bit of consulting with people back in the day. I found it a bit tough at times because people would be like, right, I'm going to set up the Patreon first, and then we're going to launch the show. And I'd be like, well, like, hang on a second, like,
get an audience first.
Cart before the horse. I mean, like, I'm not tooting a horn here, but like, I didn't even think of doing that until like 5-6 years into doing the podcast because I didn't feel like it was at the point of doing it. But now it's difficult because if you're setting up a creative project like that, it's expected. Like, if you don't have a Patreon or you don't have means for people to support you financially, it makes it seem like it's not official or not legitimate or something like that. So it's kind of it is a hard time to do that, but I think if your passion is there for it, that always sings, whether it's on the page or if it's a thing you've made. I think that always comes across. Humans have that sixth sense like a snake does.
It's like I've been meditating for like past 10 years, like before Russell Brand made it popular, because I was told that it helped my condition to get past certain issues that I have and stresses, and I'd want to talk about that and stuff like, but fucking everyone else is doing it. It's so stressful. So that's what stopped me. I mean, myself as well. And again, like I've got two really good. I'd say really good. I've got two really good fictional stories in my head that I've had in my head for the past 15 years that I'd love. Even to the point where I've got to this point now that I want to see this story on a page that I'd give to someone else to do it for me. It doesn't even have to be in my name. I just want to read this book that I've got in my head.
The best advice I got when I was writing my book, because I wrote my book over the space of about 3 months pretty intensely, shortly after my divorce, because it was therapy. That's why it's a very violent and bloody book.
It's a good book. It's a good book.
I enjoyed writing it. But the best advice I got from someone was, I got it from a Twitter exchange with John Scalzi, of all people. He basically said, even if you're kind of feeling stuck about it, just write a paragraph. As long as you've written something that day, even if it's a sentence, write it. It doesn't matter whether you've got the attention span of a gnat or whether you can sit and write 5,000 words in an afternoon. Just sit there, get something on the page. As soon as you have something on the page, the next thing comes.
Really?
And that was
it's just getting up there and starting, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I'm writing my second book at the minute, and I'm putting in maybe 500 words a week at the minute because I've been busy with work. But I'm still getting stuff in there.
Stephen King would be furious.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's a sentence for him. Christ.
That's 5,000 words a day.
Yeah. I mean, I can do 5,000 words a day. I've done 5,000 words a day.
It's not healthy, though, is it?
It's not that it's not healthy. It's just you end up losing sight of what you're doing because you lose objectivity because you get into like a flow state.
Yeah, just keep
5,000 words a day is great for prototyping a book or like trying to work out the ideas you want to get rid of. But yeah, just write something, anything. The hardest thing being a writer is that big white page. But as soon as you start getting some letters on there, it all starts to make sense. And it does. And the other thing is, it doesn't matter if they're good or bad words. Just fucking put them down there. Leave it a few days. Go back and reread it, and you'll think, "Oh no, that's a bit shit." Oh, but I could say this a bit better. I could do this a bit better. That description doesn't make sense. This is what I meant, and you rewrite it and you re-edit it. But never just like Control A delete. Just like think like, okay, what can I make? If I've written 5 lines of bollocks, what can I do to make that 5 lines of bollocks less bollocks? And eventually you get it to something good. Yeah. It just you have to take the time with it. And I know for an ADHD person that is the worst advice in the world, but 10, 15 minutes at a time, that's all you need, and you'll eventually find a flow.
Yeah, I might. Do you know what? I might take your advice. I might do it as part of my meditation because I do that twice a day. If I just take 10 minutes off of my meditation,
do your meditation.
20 minutes of writing.
Do your meditation and then add 20 minutes on the end of writing.
Yeah.
So you're in a zen place also, and then write.
I really wouldn't worry at all about saying, "Oh, this market's saturated," because even if you just do this for you and like you give it to a few people to read, as long as you've done it and feel proud about it. I mean, I do what Gadget did, where he self-published on Amazon. And eventually people will see that, and you can feel proud about the fact that you've done it. The thing that you wanted to do.
It'll help you as well not view your creative endeavor by immediately comparing it to something else. And I know that's obviously difficult if you're viewing it from the viewpoint of trying to make something into being commercial or something that can make money, because then the comparisons between things that have and haven't made money, you're going to run yourself up with. But I'm not sure if it's the case for all creative endeavors, but I certainly feel like, I saw a lot of times in stand-up where folks who I knew were funny as hell, like just so goddamn funny, but somewhere wrestling between what they wanted to say and what other people said, and they wanted to kind of emulate that, so to speak, that can kind of almost be the death of the creative process in itself, you know? And I think, if you're approaching it from something like mindfulness or, a bit of you time set aside, that's the best way to do it, because you're not going to be thinking about other things then. You're going to be thinking about what you want to do right then and there. And that'll make it be something more likely that someone wants to actually maybe, pay for or get on board with, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be a massive tome anyway. It'd be one of those small mindfulness books that you get. That's what's in my head. But,
people like me are more likely to read it then, a nice thin,
smaller books.
Thin book, yeah.
Do you know what that's reminding me of? And I don't want to make light of the situation, but do you remember that episode of Black Books where Bill Bailey swallows the little book of mindfulness and becomes like, it's like Jesus, and he's dishing out all these like little snippets of advice?
That's exactly what I'm doing.
That's what Oodles wants to create. Swallow this book.
You've got the Jesus look down already.
Yeah.
I've got the Jesus look going. American Jesus, obviously. Why Jesus? Yeah, the one true Jesus. Anyway. Let's move on. I want to know, Stig, talk me through your creative dream.
So what I would like to do has kind of come along more recently because of this podcast.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I might say thank you. Anyway,
you shouldn't have said thank you. You started it with me.
Yeah. Anyway, weird. It's I love films. I really, really do love films, and I will watch films from any kind of era or genre. Or I won't pigeonhole myself into what I'm going to watch this year. I've watched films from the 20s, from 100 years ago, basically, leading up to.
Out of everyone I know and I talk to, you've got the most diverse movie library background I've ever known.
Yeah,
you will watch 1950s French films and come back and say, This is what I thought about this 1950s French film.
Yeah, but there are still holes within my film. Like there are still some big films I just haven't sat down to watch yet. And over time, kind of having a family and a full-time job, and now doing the podcast and finding time to play games and read. TV is amazing these days. You can't fit it all in. So if I could do something where I got to watch films and talk about films and write about films and do features more, not when we do this once a week, 5 to 10 minutes, I'll talk about a film, but I don't get to go and see everything I'd like to see. Sometimes I'm waiting for it to come on streaming. If my job was, and it's partly down to, obviously when we had Helen on from Empire, like she talked about her career and everything.
Being a proper critic.
Yeah, and she came disillusioned with being a barrister and just like, I don't like that. I don't like law. I'm going to go into something else that I really like. And
no one likes law.
She took up film journalism and she's run with it and she's brilliant and she's absolutely amazing. And I absolutely love Empire. I love their podcast. Love their output.
Oh, she's a hero.
And I think I'm at a point in my life now where I couldn't, if I got really good at it, I couldn't go and work for someone like Empire because just with a family and everything, I think that kind of time has passed. But if I could do more and make a bit more of a profession out of it in other means, even if it was kind of being a third-party writer for them at times or releasing stuff online and YouTube, I want to do more for this podcast when our local cinema's built, when I can actually just walk down the road and go to the cinema and probably go and see 2 or 3 films a week. Kids are in bed. I can go watch the film I want to watch now. I don't have to travel 40 minutes away. It's, all that stuff on top, like fuel and everything, just kind of stops me doing it. But I really love talking about films. I'd love to write about them more. When I write something on Letterboxd, it's just my feelings, really. It's never professional on there, but I know that I'm perfectly capable of like sitting down and thinking about it and writing professional stuff and putting and kind of being a name that, I'm going to go watch Stuart's reviews on YouTube because I like how he talks about
I do
stuff.
like your reviews in general because obviously you've released small ones for us to see on Letterboxd and stuff. But when I've talked to Gadget about this as well, when you're right there in the passion pit and you're talking about something you love, it is enrapturing, and I do like to hear what you have to say. So I think you'd be fantastic at it.
And obviously, if it ever became a proper thing and big, you do get some kind of perks with it, which would be nice. Premieres, interviews with famous people, set visits. That's a pipe dream. That is a massive pipe dream. I would never expect.
They'd be like, Stig, you have to interview Scarlett Johansson. Are you going to be okay? I'll be fine.
I'd have to turn that one down.
When we had Helen O'Hara on and she was talking about like doing the set visit to see Dune, I've never been more jealous of a human being in my life.
And she said she saw Star Wars being filmed as well.
Yeah, she did.
Like, I love listening to when they get new young people onto the podcast. I love listening to that because you're hearing the next wave of people coming through. As a company, a magazine, they don't seem to just. I mean, the 3 main people on the podcast have been there for years, like 20 years or so, and they're brilliant at it. But they still bring in the new blood and they still respect their opinions just as much, and they're just as good to listen to. They're just as good to read, and to be able to write about it and do features. Right, what we're going to do? We're going to do a big Marvel feature. We're going to do a big feature on this film, or we're going to do a big, huge 10-page Dune spread. I want you to do that. I want you to do that. To be part of that would be amazing. Yeah, you'd have
sensational
the deadline issues and stuff like that. It might be like being back in school at times, but manage your time right, and it's it. But
absolutely,
that's
I've done freelance writing for games outlets and stuff, reviews and stuff, and those when they say, can you play this 80-hour RPG and review it for Friday? It's Tuesday. It's a bit,
games.
I'm the guy. Luckily, I'm the one that's like, yeah, I can.
Yeah, you can.
I can do it.
I couldn't do games.
Play that game really fast.
Sitting down to watch anything between 90 minutes and 200 minutes, and then going and writing about it or doing a video about it. Yeah.
Best thing to do, mate, is just put yourself out there, freelance, get some stuff up there.
Just do it yourself. Set up a blog.
Yeah,
I mean, I used to do a music reviews website back in the day, and I used to just listen to albums and review them and put things out. I got loads of gigs for free. I got to meet some really interesting people. I got to interview the drummer of Dream Theater at one point. That was a fucking great day.
Yeah. I would do more stuff for I want to do more stuff for us as well. Like coming up.
Incidentally, if you're going to set up a website or do stuff for us, you've got to call it Stu's Reviews.
Stu's Reviews.
Stu's Reviews.
Or Stews instead of reviews. But also use that, your own word. And that'll work if you go into, going about casseroles and stuff like that as well. That would also work.
Yeah. You do like food?
I do like food, but sweet food, innit?
Yeah. There's so many food critics. I wouldn't bother. There's more food critics than any other critic in the world. So I wouldn't jump into that field.
That'd be nice, though. Just writing
nice.
bullshit about free meals that you've been given.
That's a fucking... I'm sure every kind of food critic out there, they've got to be on some kind of scam on that one, because basically you get paid to go sit at a fucking £1,000 a head restaurant and be snarky as shit about it.
Yeah, but their life expectancy is generally a lot lower than all other critics.
Well,
There's that the other end of the spectrum there.
Yeah,
they also probably get burnt out on it as well. Like sometimes you just want to have a packet of crisps for tea. I don't want to go out to this Michelin star restaurant.
My mate's an editor of a brewing magazine for beer, and he's been doing it for years. He got gout last week.
Wow. I know Jay Rayner, the restaurant critic. He had a book of his famous reviews that he put out once, and there's one where he was in this very fancy, French gastronomique experience, and he was really miserable, not enjoying it. And halfway through the review, he just goes to the gourmet burger company and gets burger and chips and a big glass of wine.
Yes,
it's the best meal I've ever had in my life. 5 stars.
Love it. Excellent, Candy. What you've got a creative job, Candy. For Kevin and some listeners that are joining us, you are a tattoo artist professionally.
Yeah.
You don't just do it on the side. You haven't just picked up a needle and started tattooing people. You get paid to do it.
Fully qualified, fully trained tattooist.
Causing pain.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, but sometimes depends on the customer. But yeah, no, this one was a bit of a tough one for me, because it was always a case of I wanted to be a tattooist, so I was one.
Yes,
but
I am therefore I am, or whatever the phrase
exactly.
is.
I tattoo, therefore I am.
That's the one.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about it, and when it comes to my deathbed, and I'm looking back and seeing the highlight reels of my life, like
Jack Skellington's, pumpkins,
yeah, exactly,
praying hands.
Oh God, yeah.
Tribal tattoos.
Lions with blue eyes at the moment.
Lions with blue eyes. That must be awful. Can you do me a lion with blue eyes, please? And a St. George's flag right there.
And the answer to that is no.
Exactly.
My arm is full of cliches.
Thinking back at how I would do things differently, I'm staring at 40 directly in the face at this point, and I'm thinking, well, it's getting more and more difficult every year to physically be able to tattoo. I know you are just sitting down all day, but you're sitting down and concentrating very hard all day. And it's the way I describe it to people that say, oh, you're just sitting down all day. It can't be that hard. But, if you do a 6-hour drive with a 20-minute break in between, and you're constantly, whilst you're driving, you're on the phone answering questions, you're still going to be knackered at the end of the day.
Of course.
And yeah, I'm creeping up there in age. So, what I think I'd like to do, I can never see myself not wanting to tattoo. It is still my passion, and it's my joy, and it's what I love to do. Most days. Some days, not so
not
hot.
Bank holiday Mondays.
No. So if I were to change it, I'd probably I would love to do maybe 2 or 3 tattoos, or tattoo days a week, and just be a lot more specific about the things that I wanted to do. So a typical week would be probably 60% of the kind of standard off the wall or the fashion tattoos, and then the rest would be things that I enjoy doing, and then maybe the last 10% are things I really enjoy doing. For example, last week I got to do a Jinx tattoo from Arcane, and that was just the absolute highlight. So I think I'd be more specific in terms of like selecting the tattoos that I did for 2 days a week. And then I'd really like to I'd love to be an artist where I truly didn't have a boss. And by that, I mean, not just an artist for hire, for example. Like I would love to work as an outsourced artist for Bethesda or a game company, but Bethesda, if you're listening. So that's why I'm learning to do 3D art, and it would be nice if they, Todd Howard called me up and said, restraining orders off.
He has got your number.
We need these assets by 2 weeks. That would be great. But at the same time, you're still working towards a boss, and what I would love to do is maybe I want to sit down and do a painting, and someone will buy it. Whatever it is, just have people. You work to your own timetable. Just doodle something, do whatever you feel like, and and make some money that way. But sort of realistically, I would like to. Like, I've never truly, even with tattooing, and even though I'm my own boss, I still work for somebody else in that I give them a percentage of what I earn, which is fine because it covers costs and everything. But when it comes down to wanting to brand my own shop and everything, I just don't, or even choosing where the shop is. I don't have that kind of power, and it would be nice, especially like again getting towards 40. I would love at some point to have my own shop or start my own shop for a couple of years, just to say that I'd had something to myself. And that's a lot of what this podcast is as well. Like we're truly just doing this. It's something that we all have, and it's for us. So that's how I get sort of my release that way.
I'm doing it for the money. I'm joking.
Dude, that 50 quid he gets at the end of the year from Patreon.
It's a nice little Christmas bonus, though, isn't it?
This is, and the stuff we do for this. This is the most creative thing I've ever done. I've never been able to play a musical instrument or draw or do anything, and I love doing it. Like, just regardless of the fact, even if we got 10 listeners, it's fun to me, regardless. So,
yeah, mate. Of course it is.
Yeah, I'd love doing that.
I love it. I mean, an easy answer for me would be playing piano professionally, but I've been a professional, semi-professional musician, and it nearly killed me, so I don't want to do that again.
Penis and a little jazz
Gadget. Yeah. I'd love that. I'd love it. Gadget. Take us home.
Before I start, I would also point out, Candy, aside from doing 3D art, you should absolutely do kind of concept art and landscapes, because the art you do for Scorched is so fucking good.
Beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Beautiful.
So, I could see maybe if you're not like creating the 3D assets for the next Fallout game, you're doing some like huge paintings of the wasteland for Todd Howard to go. Yeah, we can put a level in there.
I would love to have the skills to do that.
You've got them.
You just
can do
want
it.
Todd Howard's phone number. That's what you want. That's all you want.
Well, you know how it is. But just typical artist. I'm just my own worst critic anyway. So I look at whatever I've done and think, right, straight in the bin with you.
Trust me, your scorched sheep art is fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sensational work.
And
Gadget, you're a musician.
No.
And an author.
And an author.
And an author.
And a podcaster.
And an artist now.
Yeah.
And
an artist.
And a voiceover guy. The thing I kind of want to do is, this is unusual for the rest of us, because...
Dancer.
Just hold me closer. No, because you guys are talking about kind of more abstract dreams and that, but I've got a 3-year plan in place for mine to happen. So
yeah, you have.
So I've just started a new job. Where I get paid a lot more than my last job for less work, which is perfect. It's the dream, and I fucking hate it, and I want out of it already.
Already, he's been in it a week.
4 days in as of time of record. No, I want out of the career. I don't like the career I'm in, which is typical of a lot of people. Like Kevin was talking about before with his teaching thing. It's like it was a thing that he enjoyed at one point, but ultimately burnt out and didn't have the passion for it. It's kind of like what I'm in. But I've discovered like a little side hustle where I make money, and I know that I can make it into a full-time thing. I want to play D&D for a living.
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
Dungeon Master.
This doesn't come from nowhere, incidentally. So I run Two Dragons Dream of Scorched Sheep, but I discovered a service kind of earlier in the year called StartPlaying.games, which matches up dungeon masters with people who are willing to pay for dungeon masters, and that's the dream. people are paying me to run D&D games.
Idiots, I get it for free.
Technically, you make money off it.
Yeah.
Yes!
So yeah, the idea is I post up a game that I'm running, whether it's a module that I'm running from official Wizards of the Coast thing, or whether it's Alien RPG, or whether it's something I've written, and I go, hey, I'm available as Dungeon Master on these dates to play this game. Who wants it? And people just tick in. They pay me a fee per session, and I run the game for them and have fun doing it. And at the end of it, I've made some money, and they've had a good time. And so this last month, it sounds kind of crass to get into the figures, but this is the last month. I'm just looking at my calendar. In August, because I haven't put my calendar over to September yet. I ran 3 sessions. And I made $300. That's
Here comes the money.
12 hours work. I did a little bit of the kind of back of the fag packet maths, and I worked out that if I did 3 days a week, where I did 2 sessions a day, so that's like a full working day, I'd earn $40,000 a year. That's working.
Do it. Quit your job now.
Well, that's it. 3 days a week playing fucking D&D. Why not? So,
but that's just purely for the DM stuff, isn't it? Like, you could release your own modules and just have a bit of a passive income that way. And if you're carrying on with your art, illustrate it yourself.
Yeah, that's it. That's the idea. That's where I'm getting. So the idea is I want to play D&D games for 3 days a week, and then have 2 days a week where I'm doing art that I can sell. Like drawing, the reason why I was talking about the art before, I'm drawing a battle map for Scorched Sheep. The idea being that I can draw battle maps from scratch and sell them. Because you can't really sell the ones you make on Incarnate or Dungeon Draft, because
they own the assets, don't they?
Yeah, it's other people's assets you're using. They look great, but someone else drew all these little bits that I'm putting into it. So if I draw it myself, I can fucking sell the bastard. Or I can do background music. I can play this little synth or all these guitars behind me, and I can do at once, because I've got 18 arms. Or I can write modules, as Candy said, or I can write scene setting, or I can just create compendiums of NPCs or character ideas or monster ideas. All these things I can sell and, stick them on Drive-Thru RPG for 99 pence or D&D Beyond for a couple of quid. And yeah, all these things that you just build up money, but have 3 days a week where I'm actually working and paying my bills, giving me other days of the week where I can be creative. And I was talking with someone about this. Well, what would you do about retirement? Would you have a pension? I'm like, fuck no, why would I want to retire from that?
You could do that until you're 90 years old.
I'll do it till I fucking die. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Wizardall DM.
Exactly.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Who doesn't want
you'd have a
super grey beard?
I know, obviously, our listeners will know of our D&D podcast, and we obviously have we have people who listen to that. But if you haven't ever listened to that, Gadget has created a whole world, all this backstory for our characters, and pushing us towards where we're going. He can think up things on the spot like no one I've ever known, and he has to, because we improvise and fuck up his plans constantly. He's trying to push us one way, we go, no, let's go do that, and so he has to right, okay, change the narrative on the spot.
Spent 3 hours on that,
and he does it, and he's so good at it, and it'd be amazing to do it full time.
The big one the second season that we had was early on, where your character, Stig, you just decided to kill an NPC in broad daylight. That NPC was down an alleyway. Yeah, but that NPC was supposed to lead you through a really intricate little plot line, and subterfuge and take you under the city, and you meet the Thieves Guild. No, you just fucking killed him, and I'm sat there okay, what the fuck do I do now? Let's arrest him. Let's see what happens then. But yeah, that's the stuff I enjoy about D&D. I run the modules, I run the official Wizards of the Coast modules, and they're well written and they're interesting stories. I just keep fucking changing them up. I just put random bullshit in there to see what happens with the players and let them enjoy it. But the point is, they enjoy it and they come back. I've just finished a campaign with my starter group, and they've immediately wanted to roll into a second campaign. So I'm waiting for the source book to turn up for that, and then I'm going to run them into that. That's the thing.
The money.
Exactly. That's it. I've had them for 14 sessions so far, and they're like, no, can we keep playing with you? You kind of want to keep giving me money? And they're like, yeah. It's fucking great.
You're D&D whore, that's what you are.
But the thing is, because I also do things over a 2 week period. So I do I'll do a session, then that group will not come back for another 2 weeks. That means
give them a rest.
If I'm doing 6 sessions a week, that means I can have 12 different groups going at the same time, which means I've got income for fucking days. And they're all at different price points. Like my Alien RPG costs more than my D&D because Alien RPG's, it's more fun to run, but the modules are more expensive.
Brilliant.
And all that
it's very complicated as well.
It's less complicated than D&D.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that complicated
me,
in the end. It was just it was a lot of fun, that one.
It was a lot of fun.
It all confuses me.
You got turned into a zombie. What more do you want?
Yeah, excellent.
But yeah, so I have a 3-year plan for this. I'm going to work this current job that I've got for 3 years. I'm going to take a career break and try it for 12 months. Try it for 12 months with a safety net that I can go back to an actual job if I don't make it. But
and you've got this podcast to fall back on.
Well, aye. Like, imagine that my entire living is playing D&D and talking on a microphone like an arsehole. What more could you want in life?
What more indeed?
It's like being a bingo caller, isn't it? It's perfect. Just on a microphone all the time. Love it. Love it. So before we get onto the feedback, we're going to say goodbye to Kevin in a bit, but we've got some more questions to ask him while we've got him.
Yes.
So, Stig, I believe you've got a question.
Yeah, I just want to know, really, because you've taken podcasting into your full-time job. Has that wanted you to try anything else and go to do anything else within media? Because I know you've done your stand-up, but have you looked...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it has really... made me want to go and I have went and pursued a lot of other kind of things in the meanwhile. I've done some voiceover work. I've done some, I got some acting gigs. I did some kind of, corporate voiceovers.
You did, because I heard one randomly and I was like, I know that voice. I can't remember what it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's what I love about it is that, like, because I appeared in the Secret Life of Cats BBC Horizon show back in the day, and I love just kind of appearing in these very diffuse things. So when people are like, "Whoa, what is that? You?" Like, yes, yeah. I like, because I've appeared on a series of privacy compliance videos. If you happen to work in the GDPR regulation field, I'm the privacy guy. I took a job once, which was down in Morecambe, all the way down the coast, in a psychiatric facility, because they were filming a special interactive choose your own adventure style training for the NHS mental health staff, where I got to play the villain of the piece who stole a t-shirt. And I don't have any particular aspirations I want to do full-time voiceover stuff, or I want to do full-time acting or anything like that. I don't, because honestly I'm doing my dream at the moment, which is full-time podcasting. But circling around to what I was saying earlier, trying to have those experiences and trying to make sure that I'm out there, I'm living my life, and I'm not just speaking into a microphone or editing what I say all the time. It's made me just kind of be very kind of haphazard and be like, hey, fuck it, I'm going to go off and do a thing for Bargain Booze this week where I ask people in Liverpool how they treat their mothers because it's Mother's Day. Just I try and do these random jobs as much as possible. And I kind of feel like I come in to something like that with a little bit more kind of confidence about myself than if I was just like, oh, I'm going to go do this to be my job. Because it is a difficult world to be freelancing and doing, acting bits here and there, and auditions are tough and all that. But I kind of feel when I arrive in those places, it's kind of like I treat it like when we used to go to the museum when I was a teacher or something. It's kind of like a jolly of a day off, it's something a little bit different. I got to do a beanbag ad with a pug last year, for instance. So, when you get those, that's the dream, folks. And the pug got sick everywhere. It's so many of the beans in the beanbag. And I think I signed a contract that says I can't reveal what beanbag brand that may particularly well be. But
can't imagine there's many of them.
What it is like, it's for me, it's about using my position that I have this kind of these podcasts that kind of provide me with an income stream and all that, and then just kind of using those other activities in the media just to try and kind of sharpen up my skills, and when you're not very laser focused, because I've thought before about really giving voiceover a real proper go, get a website and everything, and I kind of never gotten around to it because I kind of like doing stuff a bit here and there, and I like the kind of the unknown of what the next job will be. Like, me and Joe have a little side hustle. We've been asked 2 or 3 times to go down to BBC and Media City in Salford because they have new game shows they want to test, and they want people who can talk, and we're like, well, we talk, so we sit down and pretend to be on a game show in a conference room for these executive folks, and we just, hash it out. So, what I love is, when you live in somewhere, I used to live in rural Lincolnshire, and that wasn't a possibility, but living in somewhere like Manchester, where there's a lot of like, corporate work, and there's a lot of like amazing artists and comedians and content creators, and a lot of, people making ads and stuff who want to do something a little bit different and a bit weird. I think if you ever want to do something creative, you can get very tunnel vision-y and just focus on that one thing. But if you think about the things that make your big project fun and what makes you good at that, trying to find other little avenues to get in there, that's what I think is the most fun about. We talked a lot here, even say about the being your own boss and stuff like that, and that's like kind of one of the fun things about it is being able to kind of pick some stuff that might give you a story at the end of the day. I think on the day in Morecambe when I was the baddie in the mental asylum, I probably wasn't having specifically the best day of my life, but I've got anecdotes for days now, so I'm very happy with that.
Yes. Fantastic. So, that's all we've really got time for with you, Kevin, because you're on a strict time-based appearance tonight. So before we let you go, I think it's time we allow you to plug your wares.
Well, you can catch me on the Out Here podcast, where I talk about, as we said earlier, everyone's favorite period of time in professional wrestling with my pals Adam and Billy. We're coming on to our 5th season, where we're going to be going into the ruthless aggression time period of 2006 onwards. So we're, when your first WrestleMania's got a Peter Gabriel soundtrack, you're going to have a good time. You can also hear me with How to Wrestling, where me and my partner Joe, if you've never seen wrestling or you don't know anything about wrestling and you want to like pick a topic about it and have a deep dive from someone who's been watching wrestling their whole life like myself, or someone like Joe who just has been watching it for a podcast for some years, well, that's kind of a how-to guide for all different people and concepts in wrestling. And if you just don't care about wrestling and you want to see me talk to my friend Sam, who's never seen any movies, and then we watch those movies, there's always Cinema Swirl. They're available wherever you get your podcasts, and they all have patrons with extra content as well. And guys, thank you so much for having me on. It's been really great having a chance to talk to you about, so I don't really get to talk about it from a kind of a career point of view. So it's been nice to have a little bit of introspection. You've not given me my mindfulness book yet, but you've given me pause to self-reflect. So I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you for being on the show. So yeah, you enjoy the rest of the evening. Enjoy your wrestling. See you later, mate.
Thank you so much.
See you guys. Bye now. Bye-bye.
Oh,
guy, what a guy.
How
what
good
a
was
lovely
he?
guy.
Oh, he looked spectacular. I couldn't keep my eyes off him.
That mustache.
Yeah.
Right, so now Kevin's left, we can get out our listeners' feedback now. We didn't want him to listen to all that nonsense.
He's got to get a nap in before tonight's wrestling.
Absolutely. I bet it starts really late, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's be like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, let them let them have a sleepy. So yes, Gadget, what have our delicious listeners fed us back with in a bulging sack?
We're going to start unusually at this point because we had a little bit of feedback about our big Hundo episode last week.
Do it.
So I want to start off with Kieran. Said, quality 100th episode, folks. I love the hot takes bit at the end. Looking forward to Deep Dive Lounge. And thanks for calling me a good boy. Even though I was there, I'd completely forgotten about that last cutscene of Final Fantasy VII being blocked out and then Biggie appearing as Cloud. That was incredible.
I love Karen Cloud. It's one of my favourite characters of all time. It should be canon in Square Enix, like in that world. Can you imagine Karen Cloud turning up in like Dissidia?
Yeah.
It's like a summons or something.
I mean, at the very least, it's one of the emotes in our Discord.
It's my favorite.
The look on his face when that turned up, and it's just so funny.
Every time I think about it, it makes me laugh. And he's got his helmet on his shoulder, and everything just fucked up. And then when his screen came back on, he's just stood there going, "Oh, oh." So good.
Zenos has said, listening to the clip of Candy trying to read the social stuff was an experience.
It's an experience for me too.
I went back and re-listened to that one after Sticker put it all together. That was fucking incredible.
I was howling so much. I had to edit it down a bit because there was just too much. It was too long. The whole clip was like 6 minutes long. I was like...
And I'd edited it down from 11 minutes when it first happened.
I remember you had to cut me out. You had to cut a little bit of me because I was obviously riddled with COVID, and I was going, stop making me laugh.
Yeah, you were dying coughing.
My lungs were dying.
Stig was dying coughing because he'd broken himself at the time. Oh, it was so funny. But it's the greatest joy I've got doing this podcast world when Candy gets into a giggle loop.
Oh, no,
because she doesn't stop.
I can't.
Yeah.
Once I'm gone, I'm gone.
She needs to be shook. Stop lying.
But she would find that funny and she'd keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Last one on it, Nimrod Hicks. Listen to the 100th today. What a banger. Tears of laughter from the reminiscence and the clips. Then everyone's wonderful contributions have me in tears again. I'm looking at you, Super Natty Cat. Great work all around from a great community. And that kind of sums it up. I will say I had tears in my eyes listening back to Stig for your fucking outro.
Good, wasn't it?
You dirty little boy putting that together.
Yeah,
that was really nice.
To pay that band loads of money for that.
Yeah. But it was one of those things that I guess because we were doing a retrospective episode last week, but hearing those clips back, because I don't go back and listen to the old episodes because I've got so much editing to do for the new ones. I just don't look back. Hearing the shit and hearing how far we've come and like all the guests we had and all the random shit and fucking Biggie not understanding what age like milk means and going through all that. Or just even having the moment of like introducing Candy as a full-time cast member for the first time. I had a little lump in me through it. I was like, oh, that's so fucking nice.
Yes.
I just saw it again, dollar signs.
Achieved what I set out to do.
Worked.
Yeah, you did well, Stig. You did well. Bravo on that edit.
Yeah, in fact, absolutely sensational piece of work there. Stig.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Any more feedback on our topic?
Yes, we have feedback on the topic. So, back to Xenos, he said, so I have a really good imagination. One of the reasons I listen to the sequelizers is that I can more or less visualize everything from their pictures in my head and basically get a film to watch in my mind's eye every week. What I can't do is actually draw to get the pictures out of my head and onto paper. I would like to think that I could be a writer for a game, though. Sorry, that took a turn. Given that I thought he was going to say he wanted to be an artist. But no, he says, I would like to think I could be a writer for a game or film, though, given the chance and the motivation. I actually had a novel that I've been working on off and on since about 2007, but the biggest problem I have is getting my brain to put all the events in some kind of an order. It's basically just a cloud of ideas that constitutes one complete plot, but won't sit still long enough to write it all down. I have a 3,200-word file typed up on how magic is supposed to work in the universe and almost nothing for the actual story, which I suppose qualifies me to be the next George R.R. Martin.
It does. I mean, Xenos does like to break things down. He has got that mind for it. When he just talks to us about what we've done on Scorched, he breaks it down. He tells us what he's thinking at the time, and I think I would read one of his novels.
He's got a very analytical mind. He's very good at passing things through.
I said just go for it, mate. I'm going to do it. You do it.
I tell you what, have a novel off, the three of us.
It's time to novel off. Mine's going to be small, though. Mine's just a little mindfulness book. It's going to be like 100 pages.
I know. We'll still finish ours before you do because you'll get distracted by birds outside.
I've got some illustrations to put in it as well.
Don't make them pornographic.
It's Kama Sutra. I'm joking, isn't it?
That F-King guy said, story pitch guy. I'm sure there's actually a term for it. I have some neat ideas, notebooks full of half-formed stories and gimmicks for numerous projects over the years. If I dig through them from 4 or 5 years ago, I'm sure I could find the Predator film idea that I put them in the Frontier times. While I think that I'm good at that, I'm bare bones at everything else. Writing, sequential art, fuck you, you're amazing at art. Editing, filmmaking, etc. That stuff I can do, but not at the greatest level. Fuck you, your art's amazing. Stop it, Dean.
Oh my God, that man, he's so talented. His podcast has changed completely from what he originated. And the way his mind... Do you know what I like about Dean is he takes his time to speak before he does. Unlike me, complete opposite.
Yeah.
He'll think and he'll observe and he'll absorb and then he'll speak and it's just gold that comes out. I think he'd be perfect as a writer, screenwriter.
Well, he does say, my attention span only allows me so much time to work on a project before I get bored and I have to move on. Same goes with learning skills like writing and editing. Having a lack of time to work on things as well, combined with that attention span, if I think of something, I've got to get it out on paper as quickly as possible, before procrastination, boredom, or the realization it's beyond my skill level to do it. If given unlimited time to myself to work on things, it may be different. Recently, I've actually been making a lot more stuff in the time I have, so maybe I can do more outside of being a concept idea guy. Time will tell, but if asked now to do one thing right now, I'd be the guy to think of stuff and pass it on to more talented people to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And just more pictures of boobs, please. I like it. I like it a lot.
He's got a fixation for dicks.
Dicks and tits.
Yeah, and butt custard or whatever it was called.
God. That was amazing, but bleak at the same time.
I love that kind of art. Fucking adore it.
we've defeated Supernati Cat because this time she put feedback on Patreon rather than Twitter.
Wow.
We got 3 bits of feedback on Patreon.
We're going to do that more often.
They're learning.
So Supernati Cat said, I think I'd be good at storyboarding video games, as in coming up with the ideas, then pitching them to other people. I have a crazy mad imagination. You do. And this, I think, is viewed by some as a curse. It is. But the people in my head tell me it's awesome.
What a lie.
I loved creative
I'm looking
rights.
forward to Tampon Simulator.
I loved Call of Tampon.
Call of Tampon. Requiem.
Yes. I loved creative writing in school, and I love seeing novel adaptations come to life on the big screen. So imagine this is what it's like to write a story and scroll little doodles of what's in my head, then watch cleverer people than me create it and other people play it. That would be epic.
It would be amazing, wouldn't it? Like, I've got so much in my head. I wish I had, like just an assistant. Every time I say stuff, they write it down for me. You know, like wealthy authors do. They don't type anymore. I'd love to have just a person. I'd call him Jeeves, and Jeeves would just sit there and I'm talking Jeeves. Make sure you're writing this down.
You just want to live a Jackie Collins life, just sitting around in fur coats.
I want to be Jackie Collins, basically. Jeeves, did you get that? I'm talking about his long, slender shaft. Write that down.
Now be gone. I have young boys to entertain.
Exactly. Eating grapes. Oh, God, that's a dream. Drinking wine and eating grapes.
Yeah. Mark Planty has said, Oodles, this is your level, this one. I'd have to be a fluffer. Not out of choice, but with zero talent other than being able to open and close my mouth regularly, and at length it's out of necessity. Fuck my life, and apparently my face.
Wow.
Listen, Planty, we all know if you could do it full time, you'd be brilliant at it, and you'd be a great podcaster. So,
if I meant fluffer.
It's definitely a good fluffer.
Absolutely.
Fluffinator.
Last up, we're going back to Yorkshire's finest. It's Kieran saying, I love coding, but after 15 years.
Yeah, excuse us.
I stand by my statement. I love coding, but after 15 years, I'm getting pretty sick of working in the finance industry. So I'd love to work in an industry close to my heart that produces a product I actually give a shit about. So probably video games. I'm not particularly interested in getting to the dev side of games, but to be a part of a studio and supporting the dev process and its infrastructure would be awesome.
Yeah. And just seeing your name come across on the credits that you've done something for a project that you love, and I bet even game devs, even when there's a negative score come through or not so positive, I bet they're like, I don't give a fuck. I am proud of what I've done.
Yeah,
that's how they should be. But obviously, they get pay deductions and stuff like all that nastiness at the back end.
I mean, Kieran could be the next Neil Druckmann. He's got the hair for it already.
He's got the look. He's got the look. He's got the style. He drinks like a champion, like Neil Druckmann does. Yeah, he'd be perfect.
So, but
is that the feedback?
That's the feedback.
Fantastic. So, as always, links to all our extracurricular activities are in the show notes and at modernescapism.co.uk. And please consider becoming a patron to help support our endeavour. Next week, we will be talking about working for a fictional company and what that entails and why we chose to work there. It's going to be very interesting because there's a lot of fictional companies we can jump into. And I'm assuming somebody might get an internship at Umbrella.
No one's allowed Umbrella. It's too easy.
I'm not working. I'm not smart enough to work for Umbrella. But yes, I think it's going to be good. Again, please listen to our other shows in the network's umbrella, Doom Dragon's Dream of Scorched Sheep and Deep Dive Lounge, which you will be available by the time you listen to this episode. Put a lot of love into that. Everything we do, we put a lot of love into. So please help us. Even if you don't listen to it, just scrib it so it looks like you have. That'll do me.
Five,
give us those 5 stars.
5 stars on Spotify.
5 stars. Get on the Patreons.
Yep.
Give us money for more shit.
And if you're not a patron, this is the end of the road for you, unfortunately. But for the patrons, we'll see you in a couple of minutes in the green room. So that's been a podcast. It's been lovely to have Kevin on. Fantastic. Very mature podcast for us after the last few we've had. I've enjoyed it. So that's been a podcast. Good night.
Bye.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's not usually me that fucks up.
Yeah, Biggie, the one that isn't here, bless his heart, he is usually the one whose video just cuts out randomly, or because
everyone was talking then, but
and just shuts
before
the
everyone
video
was
down
finishing the sentences, he just went, everyone. Just give it, everyone for doing it. I was like,
we need to find something.
I'll just pretend I know what they're saying.
You need a wild card in there, you know?